cascading descendants from some of the stuff we're working on in the chips that we're making in the lab today.
Essentially, like the people who put the foundation for the St. Peter's Basilica down,
Yeah,
they're not going to see
yeah. Right, absolutely.
Yeah, and this is just how it goes with everything that's really extraordinary like that.
Right. It's neat to think the speed at which innovation occurs. Right. I think you've had Elon Musk on the show a few times, and it's neat to see what he's been able to accomplish with SpaceX. I met him in 2003. This is very beginning of his journey. Right. I was on a planning committee for a conference, American Astronautical Society, and we were doing a conference in Houston with a focus on a commercial spaceflight. So this is at the dawn of the idea. At the time, I was working at Lockheed Martin, and so we had Elon Musk come in and talk to us about this crazy idea of SpaceX that he had, right? And so um, Lockheed Martin corporate contacted me and asked me, "Hey, we know you're going to be interfacing with this guy, and so we want you to write up a profile on him after the conference and tell us what you think." And so I went to the conference and got a chance to watch a number of people come in and talk about great ideas. And Elon came and gave his talk and so forth. And after the conference was over, I wrote up a profile and submitted it to Lockheed Corporate. And I said, I think this guy is going to do everything he said he's going to do. I think Lockheed Martin should consider buying his company at some point in time. And so fortunately they didn't, right? Because I think if they did, they would have like ruined the magic, if you will, right? So,
Yeah, you needed him in control. He's got some pretty bizarre ideas that, just watching him catch that rocket, you're like, what?
That's nuts. That is so absolutely nuts, right? My brain looks at that and goes, no.
Right? It looks like, that's why the cook's name is like it's big. Because it almost looks big. Like, how? It's such a leap above anything that's ever been done before.
Yeah, could you imagine the design meeting? Right? And I'm sure it was probably Elon that said this. I want to catch a 20-story building.
Yeah.
I can see all the engineers. Is he serious?
Right, exactly. Because everybody thought they just had to deteriorate and fall to Earth.
Yeah, right.
They run out of gas.
Right.
When you're shooting a rocket up in the sky, then you plant it so they fall into the ocean. Like, okay.
I do think that I don't know if you've ever met Gwen Shotwell. I think Gwen Shotwell is kind of like his secret weapon. Right. So, Elon Musk strikes me as one of those guys that's like an idea generator. All this great stuff's coming out at the speed of light, if you will, and he's coming up with all these different ideas. But you got to have somebody who can take all of that chaos and pull out the important tidbits and then put them into action, if you will. And so, I think Gwen is kind of his secret weapon. She helps take all of that chaos and then starts to put it into actionable steps to help SpaceX.
That's the case. She rules.
Oh yeah.
Just imagine as technology increases, if you have someone with that sort of an innovative mind and someone like Gwen who can put it together as all these new ideas come to fruition, you can imagine where we're going to be with this stuff.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And just to kind of put that in context, right? In my mind, SpaceX is an example of mastering the art of getting to space. Right? SpaceX is conquering that climbing against the gravity well, as opposed to moving through space. Therein lies a great opportunity to kind of re-highlight that perennial difference, the challenge between the two.
Right, moving through space.
Yeah.
And then the idea of some sort of a space station somewhere, like not just circling the Earth, but out in the cosmos. There's so many different ways they can take this stuff with the idea of eventually colonizing other planets, which is always like people go, okay, well that's what we're probably going to try to do. Wouldn't another civilization do that to us? And that's where you get into the weird talk.
Yeah, right.
Whether that is actually happening.
Right. Well, I guess it gets into the whole, if somebody has the ability to come here, right, it's almost like I would rather be the one that was technically advanced and able to go somewhere else rather than have them come here, because that's if you look at history, that hasn't ever gone well for the organization, for the tribes that get visited. It just never tends to go well.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm like, I'd rather be the one doing the visiting than
exactly
right. So.
And then imagine the exotic viruses.
Oh yeah, right. No, that's a good point. It always makes you think. Star Trek, they beam down to the planets
No
and they're
problems. They're there.
Yeah, right. It's just like
They breathe air, same atmosphere, same
right.
pressure, same gravity.
Right. It's like I keep waiting for the episode where somebody starts bleeding from their eyes, right?
It explodes.
Yeah, the guy with the red shirt, right away, right? This guy's gone.
Yeah, you have to take a chance. But when you think of what's currently available today, in terms of research that people have done on propulsion systems, when people speculate that there's some sort of a black ops program that the government's been running secretly, and this is what a lot of these drones are that people are seeing, and this is what a lot of like the Tic Tac stuff, that it's probably our stuff, which is why it's off military bases. Given your understanding of the current state of science, do you think that's even possible?
Yeah, no. Well, it's hard to imagine that being possible, right? Just in terms of, because my entire professional experience has been about wrestling with, how do we conquer this time distance problem? And so I know all too well all the shortcomings. I know where we are for the most part today, where we're lacking, right? And so I don't know that there is an organization that has things that can potentially operate in the ways that we, like the Tic Tacs.
Right.
I don't know that there is a black ops that actually has that capability.
What I'm kind of asking though is it even conceivable that there could be a program where you could get the brightest minds who are working on this stuff to make advancements that are far beyond anything that conventional wisdom describes?
Yeah, that I was on a different frequency. Thank you. If we had some kind of kit, right, that is not from here, however we got it, right, and people spent some time studying it, maybe they could figure it out. But that also gets into a little bit of a logic conundrum, right? Because I think you talked about going back to the 1400s and holding up an iPhone, right? If you handed something like this to Isaac Newton,
right,
he would have no idea what to make of this, right? So he might figure out the interface, right? Apple's done a good job of making this thing pretty user friendly. But I mean, how can he even if he looked at it with like a glass and allowed him to see, maybe start to make out the pixels,
right?
He doesn't have the benefit of any of the math and physics and so forth. So it's possible, right? But those are the things that in gaming situations in my head, what might that look like? Well, it's like, wow, this might be really hard to figure that out. But it'd be awesome if somebody had figured that out, if that was in the realm of possibility.
Speaking for the people that believe that they have recovered these vehicles from somewhere else, one of the ways they describe them that's really kind of bizarre is they describe them as donations.
I've heard that word. Yeah.
If you were going to try to get someone to figure out how to construct their own automobile, you wouldn't give them a 2025 Corvette ZR1. What you'd give them is a Model T. You'd give them some simple combustion engine, carburetor that you could go, okay, like someone who knows how to make a locomotive, they could look at that and go, okay, I see what they're doing. Oh, wow. All right, so this thing, the combustion, and then the gases spin around, and then it creates energy, and then it spins these wheels, and then this thing has different gears, and that goes to the back wheels. Okay, I think we can do this. But if you gave them some electric Tesla, the new Model S Plaid, they'd go, what the fuck is this?
Porsche 911.
Yeah, exactly. They'd go, what is this? Well, especially electric.
Right.
Because electric vehicles, they go, this is bananas. Like, this thing goes 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds.
Yeah,
that's a fucking car.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It does feel, if you've been in an electric Tesla, like the Model S Plaid, it feels like spaceship. Like, it feels like you're not in this time period.
Right.
You're in something in the future. So, if they gave us something to back engineer, they would most likely give us a Model T.
Yeah. Actually, I had never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Right.
That's just start with the best shit we got. You know what I mean? Like, give these dummies a Jeep from the 50s.
Right.
You know what I mean?
A Willys, right?
Carburetor.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Yeah. Look at all the stuff. You can work on it. Like, if you open up the hood of one of those things, an old Jeep, you go, oh, I see where everything is. Here's the spark plugs.
Right.
And here's the distributor cap. I get it.
Yeah. But I guess if that were the case, then I guess you could I could follow you down that thought
Right.
process, if you will.
So then, could you imagine? I mean, this is just, I'm just asking you because I know you understand science and you understand engineering. Is it possible that there could have been some program that's been going on in complete total secrecy, shielded from Congress, shielded from the higher levels of government, on the most need to know basis possible with our current security systems, that
Well,
they could have some kind of a program that's working on this stuff?
I certainly couldn't rule that out, right? But some things I think about when I think about that problem. Um, let's talk about the F-117 stealth fighter, right? There was a program that was unclassified. I think it was in the late '70s, maybe the early '80s, called Have Blue, and so that's when they were first starting to explore the idea of having an aircraft that could be extremely stealthy. And so it was unclassified for a good amount of time until they put the first test shape onto a radar stand out in California in the desert, or whatever the case may be. And they turned on the radars and they're like, well, something's wrong here. We're not seeing anything, right? And then a bird landed on the prototype, and they saw the bird. And so when that happened, the whole program went black, right? It became classified. Before then, it was not classified. Then it was classified. But it of course came out in the '90s with Gulf War One, right? I think we saw some manifestations of this, and so there is a program that's extremely classified for the obvious reasons, but it still came out, right? And then I also think about, I worked at NASA, right? And so you have the working at NASA for 20 years, you get the full spectrum of people serving different roles in a facility. And so you're always going to have people that take out the garbage and do other different things like that. And so if you've got something that has implications like that, I mean, it's hard. It could happen, but that's the thing I struggle with is that's there's a lot of different moving parts to try and keep that big of a secret. I mean, maybe it could happen, right? So,
Well, if I was running things and that was going on, I would talk to you and say, look at this guy. He seems to be on this pathway that we are currently exploring. I'd want to bring somebody in.
well, if somebody if somebody's got a manual that can help me figure out to go do something, give me a call, right? And I know I'm going to get all kinds of emails as a result of saying that, right? So I already get that now, right?
You're going to get the coops. But, the question I guess I'm asking is, are there even experts in physics and engineering that are out there that could be quarantined, that could be taken away from everyone else and put on these projects, and could they achieve meaningful results given that kind of compartmentalized science?
Right. Maybe the thing that we could throw into the sandbox on this discussion is the Manhattan Project. Maybe there's a better example of something where they were working on something that was extremely important for humanity, and they were able to keep a lot of those secrets for quite some time. So yeah, maybe that's how you would have to run something like that. I guess. I don't know.
But would you have the expertise? Are there? I mean, are we aware of who all of the experts are? Is it possible that the government could have had access to brilliant minds that are on this sort of path, like you are, gotten them, moved them into these projects, and kept it all hush hush? Is that even?
Certainly so the government also has an organization called the Jasons, right, where they have a lot of extremely smart folks from academia, and they come in. Typically, I think it's like a summer assignment, if you will, and so they band together in the summer to go work on a series of problems that folks might have, and so they kind of what you're asking me kind of makes me think about that kind of a mechanism where you have access to the best and the brightest across the entire spectrum of U.S. academia, and you pull them together and make it a SEAL Team 6 on whatever particular problem that you've got. But you could run into a problem where they might look at a problem and only look at it in the context of what we know, right? Quantum mechanics and general relativity, and they don't want to think about new things that could potentially be brought to bear. So there could be some flies in the ointment with that thought process. But that in some ways that does kind of exist in what we know that's my world.
Interesting. Um, so I guess the question is, where are the brightest minds in this particular area of innovation? Where, if I was running the government and I wanted someone to work on some certain top secret stuff like this, how would I even find the people?
That's a tough question to answer because what you know what that you might that so going to taking that question and going into like some specific steps you might take, right? What disciplines are relevant? Right. That's a difficult question to answer because there's so much stuff that we don't know. You probably would have to sample from a number of different disciplines, right? Both in general relativity and quantum mechanics. Some hope that maybe you've got the right sprinkling of ingredients to bring to bear to that. And then there is, I think, some folks in academia that actually like to think about advanced power propulsion that are also just primarily physicists in their day-to-day capacity. So Hal Puthoff has very interests. He's a great physicist. He's published a lot of great papers in literature just thinking about physics. Right? He's got some stuff he's looked at called the polarizable vacuum. And so, you know, in my drawer of preferred papers, I have a number of papers in there that are from Hal's work on the polarizable vacuum that I find interesting and fascinating. And so there may be some things out there that are adjacent to the concept where you could try and pull some of that together, I guess.
That's a fascinating thing for you to say, because Hal believes that you have them. He believes that you have 10 of them.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I know that. Yeah.
Which is just so nuts. And then, you know, he's a little agnostic on the Bob Lazar story. But the Bob Lazar story, which I'm sure you're aware of, is essentially what we're talking about. Like, you would bring in some out-of-the-box thinkers, and if you found some wildly intelligent, young scientist who put a rocket engine in the back of a Honda, which is what he did, you would go, what is that crazy fucker up to? Like, let's have a look at it. What's it hurt?
Right.
The guy's a Rocketdyne, say he's a wizard,
right.
you know, bring him out there. Or the guy's at wherever he wasn't at Rocketdyne, he was at Los Alamos. The guys at Los Alamos said he's a wizard, so let's bring him out here. Let's see what's going on.
Yeah, his story is I'm not too familiar with it.
It's the nuttiest story of all time, and he supposedly, well, they denied that he ever worked at Los Alamos, but then they found him on an employee log, and not only that, but he knew the outline of the place. He knew the security people. George Knapp took him on a tour of it. He knew everybody. He knew the people that worked there. He knew how to get around. Like, he clearly worked there. So that's interesting that they tried to deny that he ever worked there. And then from there, he gets this job where he is flown out to the desert to Area 51 Site 4. And this is allegedly, right? During this time, he can't even tell his wife what he's doing. So his wife thinks he's going and having affairs. He's got to leave and fly away at 11 p.m. at night. I'm like, right, but you can't tell me where you're going. You want to work?
Right. Yeah, you're working late again.
The wife starts having an affair, and because of his
this almost sounds like a movie, right?
That's a movie, which is one of the beautiful things about reality. Is that reality seems so fake that sometimes actual true stories are bizarrely fictional. So his wife starts having an affair. Because of his clearance, he cannot be working on these things if he could be under extreme emotional duress. So they fire him. They tell him he can't. They don't give him any explanation. They don't tell him his wife cheating on him. He starts taking people out to the desert, explains to them, you have to see what we're working on. They fly this thing on certain nights, and they do these test flights around the base. It's nuts. So he takes these people into this area. They see it. They get arrested. When he gets arrested, he gets caught there. He explains what he was doing. He says, okay, I've got to go public or they're going to kill me. So he goes public with George Knapp. Initially, they hide his face, and then he says, you know what, fuck that. Let's just film me. Let me tell you everything. He goes over the diagram of this device, and he calls it the sport model, and it looks like that. That thing that we have right there.
Yeah, it's almost like a hubcap, right?
Exactly. That's a copy of it. In the middle of that thing is some sort of a generator that he said works on this unknown element, this element 115.
Oh, some of this is coming back. I think I've seen some stuff over the years.
Yes.
Yeah, some of it's coming back to me now.
And essentially, the way he describes it traveling, and again, this is in the 1980s, the way he describes it traveling is exactly the way you describe that sort of warp drive, changing space and time around you. And that you would point that thing where you wanted to go, and it would just...
It all sounds very surreal, right?
Oh yeah.
There's another story. Again, as I said, I have a number of friends that are keenly interested in this, and so I've been exposed to some of the different things. And to me, the Tic Tac account is interesting because it's got a lot of rigorous data, if you will, that
Right.
helps you go, well, I can't explain that, I can't explain that, I can't explain that. There is another accounting that I just put in the category, my brain doesn't even know what to make of it, and it's the concept of Rendlesham Forest. I don't know if that rings a bell. There's some over in the UK where there's a base over there, and some airmen came across some very weird. I can't even begin to describe
I'm not sure if
some
I
of
know
this.
this one.
It's pretty bizarre. I don't know it well enough to unpack it today, other than to say it's so bizarre that when you listen to the accounts that were recorded, right, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, you know, if you think about if you watch an octopus in an aquarium, right, and the octopus is doing something, you can sometimes understand what their motivation is. There's like a cross species ability to it's like a communication but without words, right? That octopus wants to go eat that little crab or whatever the case may be. And so our chemical computers, even though they're different, we can look at their behavior and we can go, all right, I think I understand what that octopus might be wanting to do today, or a shark, or a dog, or a porpoise. Um, but when you hear what happened in that Rendlesham Forest thing, it breaks all of my guessing machine, and it's like,
What is the story?
some a colonel and some airmen reported some weird stuff that was going on in Rendlesham Forest. Yeah, and they went out and tried to investigate it, and they saw some. Again, I'm doing such a terrible job of summarizing it because I don't really know the lore very well. But
Here it is, right here.
everything they saw was very bizarre and crazy.
We can read it. It says 40 years ago, a remote forest in Suffolk was the scene of one of the most famous reported UFO sightings in history. So just what did happen? And will we ever know for sure? Victor Thurnkettle was out chopping wood one morning in Rendlesham Forest in late December 1980 when a car drew up. Out stepped two men, aged about 30, dressed in suits. Good morning. Do you mind if we ask you some questions? Asked one in a well-spoken English accent. Earlier, on 26th and 28th of December, United States Air Force security personnel stationed at nearby RAF Woodbridge had reported seeing strange lights in the surrounding forest. Forestry worker Mr. Thurnkettle, unannounced and unidentified visitors asked if he had been out the previous night. I said no, he recalls. They said, did you leave the house at all? Did you see anything? I said, what? They said, oh, there's a report of some red lights in the forest, we're just checking. And the two men, very politely but firmly, asked me probably about 20 questions. I thought they were journalists. They suddenly said, oh well, fair enough, there's probably nothing in it, and left. So I bought the papers every day for the next few days to find out what was going on, and of course, there was nothing. 3 years later, however, sightings made the news of the world front page story, proclaimed UFO lands in Suffolk, and that's official. The story was based on a memo from RAF Woodbridge Deputy Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holmes to the Ministry of Defense. It was released by the U.S. government, described as an encounter with an apparent UFO in the forest. Since then, the sightings have been the source of much debate and speculation among UFO enthusiasts and the subject of numerous books, articles, and TV programs. In March, a documentary concluded the sightings had achieved legend status like the Loch Ness or King Arthur. The forest even has its own official UFO trail, complete with a life-size replica of the flying saucer. And this is the replica with the Hamza thing on it, that hand thing. Bizarre. Thurnkettle, UK authorities have said they didn't learn about the incident. Okay, what is the story though? Let's get to what is the story. Scroll down more. What does it say?
Yeah, that gets into the stuff that doesn't make sense in terms of what they describe the UFO doing. It's just very peculiar, right?
Yeah. They got there from the hard absolutely plummeted. There was nothing. It was absolutely normal. Wait in the forest with 3 rabbit scrapes, the home carefully marked, absolutely perfect triangle. Okay, what else do you say? What is the sighting? burn marks on trees, but what's the sighting?
They look like it.
Okay, sure. That's what they said it looked like. Whoa. And it had those markings on it?
My Google search said that Rush brought it up when he was on here, but I couldn't find like even a post about it, so I don't know that he went that deep into it.
How bizarre is it that it has that symbol? What is that? That's an ancient Hindu symbol, correct? That Hamza symbol?
I don't know.
Oh, they're different. That looks very weird. Huh. So what about this one stands out to you?
I put this one in the category of I don't understand if it's a real account. Right? I mean, so I think when you have a lieutenant colonel that's reporting something as factual, I tend not to just immediately dismiss it.
Right.
But and it's not just him; it's several people around him. What they've described, right, doesn't make sense to me. Right? You know, in terms of the David Fravor talking about the tic tac, I can kind of, that's not totally alien to me. I can, well, it's trying to maneuver with the aircraft and it's maneuvering to their cap or whatever the case may be. And I can kind of connect the dots with that. But the Rendlesham Forest thing, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, what about it doesn't make any sense?
What they saw, why it was doing what it was doing.
What was it doing?
It just was out in the woods. It was out in the woods, with blinky lights and doing weird stuff. And like,
why is that weirder than the tic tac to you?
I don't know. So this is a gut thing, right? In terms of my gut's telling me I don't understand this. This doesn't make sense to me. I don't know how to explain it any better than that. So,
but if it's just an object that's in the woods, blinking lights, and looks like it's flying, why? I just don't understand why that's weirder.
That I think they also described it had like melty bits or something like that that were like dripping off of it and so forth. And it sounds so completely surreal. I think maybe what I'm unconsciously trying to do is I'm trying to map
What
how
up,
my
Kev?
eye maps
How are you?
physics to what
History has been married.
they're describing.
Do you know that this
Yeah,
year
is this the one where they
is the
found
first year
debris
the
at the
enhanced game
scene?
started?
Yeah, dog, I'm the one who told you about him.
Have you been watching the enhanced games?
No, I haven't watched them.
What was that?
The enhanced games 2025. It's the Olympics, but there is no drug testing. You can take any drug.
It doesn't always work like that, baby.
No,
I
no.
can eat. What am I watching? You eat? Do I eat like that, baby?
What are you talking?
How do I eat?
I think she's talking in her sleep. All right, what channel is the enhanced games on?
I think it's. Oh shit! Wait, didn't guess. I'm not sure I've been looking at her.
Dog, why is Bonnie Blue in jail?
I don't know.
What?
First competition of the enhanced games is scheduled
What did you
for.
say?
Okay, the first competition of the enhanced games is scheduled for May 2022.
Can you not hear Zoot?
What are you talking about? Zoot got muted a long time ago.
Okay, well, you have to understand I'm having a conversation with Zoot. So, if you want to hear what I'm talking about, you've got to listen to Zoot. All right, Zoot. So, what channel is it on?
Thank you, Zoot.
May 2026. It's not till May 2026. So the trainings now.
Okay, they're training you as leads.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Audie, go back to bed. You're not making sense. All right, Zoot. Why is Bonnie Blue in jail?
Just hold on.
Bonnie Blue has been arrested as her sister posts a statement and dramatic footage. It appears. Look, Audie. I'm not talking to you right now. It appears Bonnie Blue has been arrested. The video has been shown on her maid. Okay. Not much about the arrest has been made clear. All right, that was 17 hours ago. Dog, I need answers. This bitch is my girl. Lily Phillips was arrested as well for filming in public.
Oh, they filmed in public.
Yeah, this. I don't know, man. What are the odds that both these bitches get arrested within like 24 hours of each other? All right, I'm gonna find this shit out from X right now. I bet you. I bet you.
Body blue or red. She's finding good partner to be fairly men.
All right.
She wants the upper record thing.
It suggests a stage stunt. Rock says it's staged. Zoot.
Yep.
Zoot. It's staged. You came in here like your fucking sister was in jail. And it turns out this bitch has just staged it.
Yeah, that's what I said.
No,
said,
you didn't.
you go back and
No,
say,
you didn't. You said
I
that.
said,
You said that shit is the realest shit of all time, and I said it sounds like a hoax.
oh, Lily Phillips got arrested then.
Dude, I just told you that.
Oh, that's why.
And I just said, what are the odds that both those bitches get arrested within certain hours of each other? Like 0%, dog.
Body blue or...
Both of them, dude. They're fucking. It's a publicity stunt.
Someone brought
All
this
right,
up.
I'm gonna
Jean
beat you
Paul
in a
brought
couple
this up.
games real quick, and then I'm gonna go to bed.
Yeah, use of debris seen burning up
So
reliable.
I'm gonna choose a game.
Glowing object, metallic appearance, colored lights.
Attempted broke the object that appeared to move
Blitz
through the
lead.
trees, and the animals on a nearby farm went into a frenzy. One of the servicemen, Sergeant Jim Peniston, later claimed to have encountered a craft of unknown
Dude, you
origin
have an
on the
invitation.
forest, although there was no published mention of
Are you gonna
this
sit
at
there and
the
jerk
time,
yourself off
and
raw, or
there
are you
was
gonna
no
accept it?
corroboration from other witnesses.
Zoot.
Yeah, so no matter how far you dig, there's not going to be very much satisfactory resolution of the mystery, if you will. It's just a bonkers
Why
kind
is
of story.
this one stand out to you more than, like, say, Roswell? Because Roswell, to me, is one of the most bizarre ones. When you look at the front page of the Roswell
Zoot,
Daily
what the
Record,
fuck are you saying?
that has this story saying that the government has recovered a flying saucer, and that a crashed flying saucer was found. And the story is that they grabbed the wreckage and flew it out to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in two separate planes.
Oh,
Each one
shit,
crashed.
holy shit.
Truman met them
I'm
there.
fucked.
maybe in that case, it's this it's a potentially a purported spaceship, and it was around military bases. I don't know.
It's just the weirder.
Again, we're getting into the fact that
Oh yeah,
Zoot,
I
you're
don't
done,
have a lot of
son.
depth in some of these areas, right? So,
I understand. But it's just the weirdest
Zoot, you're
aspect of
done.
this whole
You should just
crash
give up.
retrieval program, alleged crash retrieval
I'm
program.
going for 2
If it
straight
has
games.
occurred, and it really does go back to the 1940s, like, how did you guys hide this? Like, how have you kept this secret so long? Is that even
that's
conceivably possible?
that's one of the things I wonder about. There's a book I was recommended to read called Blind Man's Bluff, and it's a book about deeply classified projects connected to the Navy. Right? They were. I think
Zoot,
the
you're
end
done.
effect of what they were trying to achieve.
You can
Part
score
of what
all
they
you
detail in
want.
this book is
It's not going to help
you
you.
remember hearing about deep sea rescue vehicles, right? So deep sea rescue vehicles basically that was a
Zoot,
cover for
you're done,
some
son.
submarines that the Navy was
You're
using to put
done.
listening
Bye-bye.
systems on communication cables that were at the bottom of submarine
That's 2
bodies
games
of
in a
water
row.
that I think the Soviet Union was using at the time. And so um, this book kind of details a number of programs that went through and developed kit and hardware to go through and accomplish these different tasks. And so it's neat to kind of see how black programs like that unfold. I don't know how that book got published, but it's a fascinating book. But then that speaks to what you're wrestling with, right? How do you have something that's so classified that doesn't leak, right? Because all the other data that we see from
Bye-bye,
other
Zoot.
programs, you can keep a
You're
secret
done.
for a little while,
You
right?
should
You
just
can't
give
keep
up.
it for that long, right? At
Zoot, you
least
should just
that's
give up,
when I
son.
look at these other things. That's what comes to my mind right now. That doesn't mean I'm right. There could definitely be programs that are out there, right? That are maybe they figured out how to get around that. But when you look at some of the most classified military things that are out there, they usually have a lifetime.
Zoot, you should just
Maybe
give
it's
up.
just one of those things the government's really
You're
good at.
done.
Like, the government's really bad at a lot of things, but maybe they're really good at that. There's that one that they've got it down.
Right. Or at least there's a small section of the government that's really good at that.
Oh, that's
Well,
garbage.
speculation. When Hal says that he's pretty sure that this happened, that gives me pause. Because that's a very serious person.
Well, yeah, he's a very discriminating individual. He likes to question everything, and even though he's uncovered some
Zoot.
very interesting things over the span of his career,
Zoot.
right? He does bring a little bit of that
Are you fucking
squinty-eyed
serious?
physicist to
You want to
some of the
ball
different
with the
things,
kid?
and so that gives you some measure of comfort that even though he's thought about some wide-ranging things, he's bringing a little bit of that skepticism to whatever he's been
I
covering.
just
Also,
lost it.
as crazy
Oh, you
what he says,
I didn't even get hit that
there's
badly.
some things that he
I
won't
didn't
talk
even get hit
about.
that badly.
Which okay, what is that? Like, if you're telling me there's 10 crash UFOs of non-human intelligence, and then there's stuff you
I
can't
didn't get
tell
hit
me,
that badly.
that makes me just go, what
I got
else?
hit
What have you
badly,
seen,
didn't I?
Hal? Stop bullshit. You're 88 years old. What's up?
Right. You're on the clock, bud. You're on the clock.
Spill the beans, buddy.
Right.
Hey, Rabbi.
If anybody knows,
Yo,
please.
pimp.
But I guess if you did
Why
spill
did
the
you
beans,
laser phone it?
my goodness, you would no longer have access to that stuff, and you'd
No
probably be in
one
trouble.
knows.
They'd probably immediately you'd get audited.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. You'd have a lot of special things that would happen. A lot of bad things.
They're
Would
way
go
away.
your way.
I imagine. Yeah, and because what he describes that put it in light and perspective to me. So you have to understand that one of the things
Bye bye,
is
Zoot.
it would be real
Bye bye.
because you'd have to figure out how this stuff was
Is that
funded.
death?
So this was funded by misallocation of finances. So you lied to Congress. So these are crimes.
Bye bye,
These are crimes
Zoot.
that put people in
Is
prison.
that death?
Zoot, I made a comeback.
By the way, that goes back to that book I was telling you about.
Zoot, I made a comeback 3 games in a row, son.
Money that went into that program.
What are your thoughts?
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
Right. And it's interesting. That gives you like a little bit of a window of insight into how the black.
Zoot, quit checking shit. Quit being a little bee. Zoot, get your shit together, man. Zoot, you have an invitation. If you don't accept it within the next 10 seconds, then we don't play.
A mad race to try to back engineer these things and to successfully complete. And this was the real fear that we were seeing in New Jersey drones, conspiracy theories.
Zoot, I'm gonna get some big points against you right now.
Buzzing us.
I gotta think when you look at any of the counts of these things, the important things to maybe help categorize the nature of things that they see. If if a craft has the ability to manifest extremely fast speeds, well, I mean, SR-71 does Mach 3.2. If you've got something that has radar track data that shows it's doing Mach 8 or Mach 10, that's interesting.
Fuck,
Now we do have
Zoot.
hypersonic stuff, so you can't just automatically say that it's something exotic. It still could be something that we know might exist out there with some other flags on the side of the vehicle. But then, like you talked about G-forces, if it can do like a Tron turn, right, that 90-degree kind of turn, and you've got a radar track, that might help you categorize the nature of the different signals that are out there. So, to me, that's why like the tic tac thing has always been something that's hard for me to just sweep away because of the quality of the data and some of the stuff they describe. I can't imagine other conventional systems that could potentially explain what they're seeing. But a lot of the other stuff I can actually probably piece together in my head. Okay, it could be this or it could be that. Right? They talk about the cubes inside of a clear sphere. There are patents in the system for radar corner cubes that are cube, a metallic cube inside of a clear balloon that gets floated to evaluate radar sensitivity. Right? So, and it just looks like there's a patent
Uh
in the
oh,
system.
Zoot.
There's a so that's a corner
This is
cube.
gonna
There's
be
a
close.
patent that has a version of that that's light enough to go inside of a
This one.
some kind of a balloon that gets filled with helium or something like that. There you go. That's the patent, right? So there's a patent in the system. So I can certainly see
Get him.
maybe if that's tethered to a boat,
I won.
Are you
evaluating
kidding me?
That's
Are you kidding me?
that was the closest one we've ever had.
It makes sense until you listen to Ryan Graves'
I
descriptions
fucked
of
up
what these
because
things
I
were
didn't
doing.
realize how
That
close
they
I
were
was
scanning
running
motion
insufficient
rates of
data.
120 knot
I
winds.
got you,
if it's
Zoot.
if it's tethered, but if it's moving, I can't describe
That's
that.
Just
But
sending him, right?
yeah,
Static,
that's 4 games in a
tethered to
row,
a boat.
big dog.
Right, but that looks goofy. Like if you look at what that looked like,
Right,
Jamie, would you
I
pull that photo up you
fucked
just had?
up because
Like that,
I didn't
I don't think
see
that's
the
trippy.
right.
But it's
yeah,
nice.
the one on the left though is it's actually a metallic cube inside. Interesting.
I
Yeah.
I
The
remember I
one
was
on the
gonna
left.
put it
Is there
down.
an image of that? With the metallic cube inside the sphere?
The patent on it,
Just
though,
a
yeah,
patent.
though.
Okay, so it's theoretical.
Nobody wants to know how it works.
Right, of course.
I think my
So in a
strategy
lot
is
of
good
cases,
here. My strategy is
again,
very good
I'm
here.
agnostic, and so I bring this
Very good
framework to
here.
the table.
Very good strategy.
And so only the Tic Tac
Very
one
good
is really
strategy. Very
the
good
one that
strategy.
bubbles up in my mind with the highest quality data
Thank you.
that I haven't been able to categorize. Well, it could be A, B, or C. That's go back to that more boring
Okay,
explanation.
now
Go back
I'm
to that blue.
a
Oh,
Go
wait,
very
to that.
good lead.
that could be some fake AI.
Could be nonsense.
Later.
Pilot's notes for cube transmedium vehicle.
Hey,
Formulated by order of
fucked here.
management
I
of
am
the
fucked.
AI. It's
I am
restricted.
fucked.
Come on, it's restricted. Like super important.
It says for official
Big
use only, right?
L.
It's got to be legit.
Yeah, put two
You
big
know,
L.
I'm a
Two big
French
L's.
I'm a French mother, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's just spy stuff.
What the
It's
fuck
just
are you
goofy.
doing?
It's just silly. We need to get those.
Beating your ass, silly.
The lack of sonic boom is one of the things I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, if that thing could move at that kind of a hypersonic
Zoot,
speed, there would be
why
some
are you
sort of sonic
sucking so
boom.
much cock,
If
dude?
it's not exactly right, if it's not some kind of laser system that's creating pixels, right, and it's some solid thing, if it's going supersonic, it based on everything we know with aerodynamics, it should have a sonic boom. And if it doesn't, and it is a physical thing, then
I really don't.
that demands an explanation, right? And I wouldn't be able to explain that, right? And so that, those,
Zoot,
and
why are you
that's
sucking so much
exactly
cock?
why something like the data that comes out of the Tic Tac thing, I haven't been able to just pound flat and make go away, right? It keeps surviving all of my grumpy physicist attacks, right? So,
Does it
Oh,
frustrate
Zoot, you're in
you using
trouble.
one of these things? Or have you?
You're in trouble, Zoot.
funny story, and
Look at all
beer
these
is involved.
reinforcements.
How much?
I'm
A
even
little
gonna
bit.
stop that guy just to
A little bit.
piss you off.
A little bit. So we were down at Kennedy Space Center. And this is
Zoot,
a cautionary
5 straight
tale
games.
to don't always believe what your eyes see, right? Because you
We'll play until
lead
you
yourself down
win one,
the
and then
wrong
I'm going to
path. So
bed.
we're down at Kennedy Space Center. We had put some
We're gonna be
docking
playing
cameras
fucking
on
12 hours.
some space station
Hilarious.
modules, and spent a lot of
The
number
way
of
I'm playing.
days working long hours wearing
Did you
those
create the
uncomfortable
game with
flight
damage
suits and so
skill or
forth. And so
damage channel?
finished all this stuff,
A
wanted to
little of
celebrate,
both.
so we went to the beach and
I
had
still
a
don't really know how to
relaxing time,
play.
drink a few beers, hang it out. And so we're out on the East Coast,
I
down
think
there
it's
close
the
to
channel.
Kennedy, and we're see some
Oh,
of the satellites coming in.
Zoot, you
Right?
just
Our
fucked
eyes
me, dude.
adjusted to the light. You can occasionally see some
Oh, that's
satellites
actually
flying
weird
over
shit.
it, and you kind of expect them to have a track that
The good
goes
thing,
west
for
to
you,
east, if you will.
where you
Generally, I
did
mean,
get
it
a
kind
little
of
bit
all
lucky,
angles. But then we
is
started seeing
the fact
some satellite tracks that were very different from what we might expect.
that
Um, Being rocket
where you
scientists,
did get
right?
a
We're
little bit
watching this stuff
lucky
going, looks a little
is
different. That's kind
the
of
fact
interesting.
that
And it's at a very different angle. Well, maybe it's a Russian
I
spy satellite
you
that's
took an L there.
retrograde.
No, I didn't. I'm gonna rock your world right now.
Trying to figure out what this could be, and then a couple more years later,
I'm gonna
we see 4 or 5 more of these tracks,
Zoot,
right?
you're done,
And we're
son.
like, well, maybe all these people that talk about these crazy things, right? Maybe there's something to
Zoot,
that, right? That was about an
I'm
hour into
making
our
a
mind as
comeback.
we've gone through this process, and we finally see another one of these little glowy orbs, if you will. And I look at it, and I just realize out of the edge of
Are
the
you
glowy
serious?
orb
Go, 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 go.
wings
Oh,
of a
fuck.
seagull, right? So it's the white belly of a seagull reflecting the light from the nearby city, and so that's what we're seeing, right? And so that's one of those things that's just something to make think about what you're seeing. It may not be, I mean, because it's breaking all my guessing machines. It's breaking all of our guessing machines, and we're wondering and speculating about it. But in the end, it was just a seagull doing their nightly business, right? And look at these silly guys looking at me, right? So
That's funny. That is funny.
so that's my own experience.
Yeah, well, the mind
Zoot, it's all.
interesting,
You
especially
gave
for
up?
years involved.
Right, right, right.
But I can't
go
dismiss
again.
all of
No,
the
we're done now.
very serious people that have talked about these things, and that's where I get really
Once
perplexed.
you
Or
get,
I was gonna
My
loot.
agnosticism
I don't
gets
care. I don't play to play
tested.
like douchey
Right,
like
right.
that.
I
You
tend to
play to
try and
win,
always keep a
baby.
squinty eye towards it, and I think that's probably good to do that because then the stuff that survives that filter, right, is high quality stuff, right? And so
Zoot,
the things
accept
that
the
keep coming out of
invitation, or I'm
the
gonna
kickback
go to bed.
I can't kill
You
them.
have
They
10,
keep wanting to try
9,
and kill it again,
8,
and I can't do it.
7,
What about when you look at
6,
things like the
5,
forecast video or the
4,
polar FLIR video,
3.
and you look at these crafts that are moving in some very weird way that they don't
Is he
exhibit
gonna do
traditional
it again?
propulsion signatures?
No.
So yes, those are interesting
Because
videos
I'm
that
gonna do
come
it.
from trained professional fighter. Put the one where it rotates, Jim.
That was
Fighter
an okay
pilots,
shot.
and so
That
I,
was
I
okay.
can't I can't dismiss those
I'm happy with
accounts.
that. I'm happy with that.
But the integrated quality of that data is not the same as the TikTok,
I'm happy
right?
with
Right,
that.
where you've got multiple aircraft, multiple radar systems over multiple days, right? That's one of those.
An eyewitness.
It's yes, exactly, and not only eyewitnesses. I mean, they're
Bust.
laying eyes on this thing,
Right.
and
Big
and
bust,
it's not
Zoot.
just
I'm
one
not happy with
plane.
that.
Where sometimes you can fool yourself.
Look at this thing. It's very. This is the gimbal video. This thing is very strange.
Check out,
What
son.
the guy's talking about it.
Check out, son. Check out, son. 18.
I what?
Zoot, you're done. You gotta get that 3 easy. Busted. Zoot, that's 1 in a row, baby. I play till I lose.
It's rotating.
Yeah, let's go.
It's going against the wind and it's rotating.
And I acknowledge the fact it doesn't have
Bro, you're
any
getting better at
thermal
it.
signatures that are
Baby, I'm
kicking
better
in
than
like
you
on
are.
a,
I'm
on a
catching up
full-on
with you.
balloon or something like that, right? So some of those things definitely are hard to explain.
Okay.
Zoot's going
Listening to
first.
these guys.
Bad shot.
Listening to fighter pilots.
Good shot.
Look at that thing.
Yeah, because their eyes are trained to go
Bad
through it
shot.
That was
and
terrible.
discern different things. Because they're always thinking about, can this kill me?
Bro,
Can
like
I
it.
kill it? What do I need to?
It's
I completely acknowledge that they have that
Bad.
framework
You need football.
drilled into
All you
their
need is
head, and
football
that
like
helps um, put
Get
this
that
into a
18.
special category. But those are unfortunately sealed
Double
data
12.
items, so I can't do anything with that.
Nice. Or
And
triple
that gets
12.
back to what we talked about at the
Alright,
beginning
all I need is
of all this.
320.
I would love for
Like, yeah,
somebody
just
to
need
show
to
up
get
with a notebook, right,
Oh, shoot.
full of all these great observations that would help
Bro,
me.
you're on the triple
We're
track.
making these little nano chips
I
that
should
we're
have
trying
got
to
that.
use to extract energy. Yeah, sure.
That's
These
Is
are
that the actual nanochips?
these are a bunch of the nano chips that we're doing. This is part of the Casmer company that we spun out. These chips interact with the quantum field generate a voltage potential where those leads. And
Go,
so
Zoot.
we measure voltage on those guys, and we put them in dark RF shielded
Zoot,
enclosures.
go.
There's some pictures, yeah. And so
Zoot, go.
yeah,
10,
and how do you
9,
think about how to
8.
even make stuff like that? We can talk about that in just a minute. You know, let's talk about some of the applications, right? You know, this is let's see. Can we go back a couple slides?
I don't know. I'm very tired. I want to go to bed.
One more. All right, so let's just spend maybe 3 minutes here talking about the Casimir force.
That was good.
At least picking up where we left off. Okay. Right. So we talked about the idea of the Casimir force is a macroscopic observational consequence of something called the quantum vacuum, these fluctuating fields and forces. You go to the next slide, Jamie. So conceptually, the following
25.
is true, independent of anything
Double
that we're
15.
doing with the nanotechnology we're developing. If you allow the quantum field to interact on these two metal plates that we talked about as part of the Casimir force, it will apply a force over a distance, and it will cause that gap to close and go to zero, right? So that is, by definition, a force over a distance, and so that is a
Busted.
unit of work. So the Casimir force phenomenon is a illustration of extracting energy from the quantum field. So
Check
independent of
out
anything
Zoot.
that we're doing, right? That's
Zoot.
part of what's baked into the idea of the
Get it
Casimir
so we
force
go to finals
interacting
and
with
then
the
it'll be
quantum
over.
field. Now,
Check out. All right, here
you
we
might say,
go.
well, maybe we could use that as a power source. The only problem with this textbook
Zoot.
illustration of
Try to beat that. This is for the championship.
there's no more. You can't get.
You're done. You're done.
Pull the plates apart. You have to
You're done.
wind the watch.
Bye-bye.
And so this type of an
All right,
approach
dude, I gotta get some
would
sleep.
simply be a battery. So you couldn't extract continuous energy from the quantum field from this type of an apparatus. So this leads into an innovation that we came across. So Jamie, if you will forward the next slide. This is a slightly larger version of that scanning electron
No,
microscope.
I'll probably sleep like 4
So
hours.
we've changed the standard Casimir cavity concept by adding these pillars along the midplane. So we have these structures that we put inside the middle of the Casimir cavity. And so you see we got a cavity wall on the left and a cavity wall on the right, and those big three pillars. The walls are fixed to the substrate. They can't move. We don't want them to move. We want them to stay still. And then the pillars are also fixed to the substrate. They cannot move. The walls are electrically connected to one another, and the pillars are electrically connected to one another, but they're isolated. So that's just a physical description of what this is. So now let's talk about how does this custom structure interact with the quantum field? What's the difference with this particular structure? So for that, let me give you a metaphor. Imagine a Pacific atoll island out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It's surrounded by the Pacific Ocean with all this random wave energy that's beating the outside of the atoll island. But at the center of the atoll island, there's a nice lagoon, right? Very quiescent, very smooth. The water's connected to the Pacific, but a lot of that wave energy can't manifest on the lagoon. So it's a protected and nice environment. So imagine, Joe, you're sipping, some nice water and having a nice paddleboard day, quiescent, enjoying yourself. And Jamie, he took the other package and he went deep sea fishing out of the Pacific Ocean. So he's really bobbling back and forth, and it's much more uncomfortable for him. Maybe he's getting sick in the heat fish, right? So now with that metaphor in mind, let's come back to the structure. So this structure, the walls on the outside are like the Pacific atoll island. Inside the quantum field, which is like the Pacific Ocean. So it's assaulting that structure on all sides. The pillars are like you on your paddleboard in the lagoon. It's a protected environment. And so the way the quantum field interacts with this structure is it will occasionally cause a real electron inside the walls to quantum tunnel to the pillars. And so the pillars are like you on your paddleboard. It's a very quiescent environment. And so the electron shows up.
Quiescent. This motherfucker loves saying atoll
but
and
there's no
quiescent.
wave energy on the lagoon to mirror that current back to the walls. So in that way, this structure will interact with the quantum field and generate a voltage potential. So we can measure a negative voltage on the pillars relative to the wall. And so, although this is a very tiny little cavity, and we can measure the voltage directly using atomic force microscopes, if we put these guys together by the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, then we can get to voltage and current levels that map to things that we care about in application, like, you know, tire pressure monitor system, something that uses microwatts worth of power, or a Fitbit, or you've got the ring there. I think it's an electronic ring or something like that. Yeah, some low power applications, and so using this this approach, we're trying to create chips that are about the size of your pinky nail that generate 1.5 volts and 25 microamps. And so that maps to a number of chips that are on the market today that operate at that power level, but they have to be recharged. We don't have to be recharged. So we're like a solar panel that works in the dark. So you can put us in your device, and then it can go down to the bottom of the ocean, and it will continue to work. Or we can give it to our buddies at Intuitive Machines, and they can carry it to the surface of the moon, and maybe they want to throw a sensor off to go measure something and collect data, even though the sun stops shining. So the cool thing is, like I said at the beginning of this interview, we were going down this whole path of trying to understand the nature of the quantum field because we were motivated by where we might envision it could lead one day. Maybe we could add a deeper understanding of the physics Venn diagram and get to a point where we can figure out what do we need to put into the rings that go around that IXS Enterprise concept shift, if you will. And so
in honor of Military Appreciation Month, Verizon thought of a lot of different ways we could show our appreciation, like rolling out the red carpet, giving you your own personal marching band, or throwing a bumping shindig. At Verizon, we're doing all that in the form of special military offers. That's why, this month only, we're giving military and veteran families a $200 Verizon gift card and a phone on us, with a select trade-in and a new line on select unlimited plans. Think of it as our way of flying a squadron of jets overhead while launching fireworks. Now that's what we call a celebration, because we're proud to serve you. Visit your local Verizon store to learn more. $200 Verizon gift cards require a smartphone purchase $799.99 or more with new line on eligible plan. Gift cards sent within 8 weeks after receipt of plan. Phone offer requires $799.99 purchase with new smartphone line on unlimited ultimate or postpaid unlimited plus. Minimum plan $80 a month with autopay plus taxes and fees for 36 months. Less $800 trade-in or promo credit applied for 36 months. 0% APR. Trade-in must be from Apple, Google, or Samsung. Trade-in and additional terms apply.
One of the largest Star Wars fan collections in the world is coming to Kosai. Unofficial Galaxies opens on May 10th, and this is a one-of-a-kind exhibition with iconic characters, props, legendary ships, costumes, and behind-the-scenes secrets. It's going to be a must-see whether you're a hardcore Star Wars fan or just curious about one of the most famous sci-fi franchises of all time. Unofficial Galaxies is coming to Kosai starting on May 10th, so get your tickets now at kosai.org.
Or even more, like expeditionary power. I don't know if you ever wanted to have a farm out in the middle of some untouched area where you didn't want to pay the money to run the power line. 10, 15 years, maybe you wouldn't have to. We could provide a solution that would allow you to come off the grid. I was seeing something online about some technology that was invented in Japan where they have figured out a way to extract far more energy for solar panels. Yeah, I think they've increased the efficiency of solar panels, but there is a limit in terms of we can get close to 40% efficiency of solar panels. Kind of the limit of what you can do. And then the challenge with solar panels is at the surface of your ideal lighting conditions, the flux of power you get is about 1,000 watts per square meter. Right? So if you wanted a system that provided 5 kilowatts of power, math it would a fairly big area.
Welcome to the Long Scott Podcast. We're your host, I'm Steve, and I've got two. Thank you for hanging out with us today. I have been in this,
I have to
not
acknowledge
because
we're still
it's not
very early,
negative,
right?
I've
We're very
just
low
been
power levels, and so we want to
crawl, walk,
dragged into the world of UFOs and aliens as of lately. So get ready for that. You're gonna get a lot of that.
right?
You're gonna find a lot of weird ass
And then
stories.
use those
This one's no different.
to continue to grow the capability.
Warning, preemptive warning.
And then ultimately,
It's gonna be a long one.
have
There's gonna be a
those
lot.
things
It's
stacked
probably gonna be 3 or 4
50
episodes tied to what I'm looking into here.
you
So
know,
if you like these episodic ones, this is right up your alley. If you don't,
then you have enough
that
power.
sucks.
Right. Well,
Sorry.
So this gets into
But before we get into that,
is
we are going to
what we're trying to understand and study inside these little chips that we're making is we're trying to understand the nature of the quantum field, right? The structure
so
of the
good.
field. How can we alter
And
it?
if you're the business, check us out on all social media:
We
Facebook,
talked about
Instagram,
the fact
YouTube, Twitter,
negative
TikTok,
vacuum energy
Discord,
density
Reddit.
is potentially a good
Search up
proxy
Podcast
for the idea
Come and hang
of
out with us.
exotic matter.
You know the
general
drill.
relativity
If you have a
requires. And so,
paranormal
in the
experience
process
you'd
of
like for
deep
us to feature in a
development,
future
deeper
show,
understanding
Kyle's
of the
got all
quantum
the
field, what we're
deeds.
doing with these
You
devices,
call the holophone.
right?
It's going to be
We're
1618
actually
556
adding another circle
0237.
on that Venn
You
diagram
text it, leave
that's potentially
voicemail.
not
Sometimes we
only
open the lines
overlapping
for
part of quantum
interviews.
mechanics, but it's also
You can send pictures, whatever you want
part
to
of
do.
general relativity. I think
You can
that's
also write your
kind of
story
what's
out
gonna
or
be
use your
necessary
voicemail apps on
to
your
be able to make
smartphones.
the idea
Record your story.
real.
We'll write it out.
We're gonna
Shoot
have
it over
to
to
have
the email, which
that
is going to be
unique body of physics,
hollowskypodcast@gmail.com.
equals MC
I wanted to take time to shout
equation,
out to all the people who
right,
hit
that
us back
allows
up
us to
after the
potentially
Mimic episode.
hey,
I was going to do that.
this is
Oh, yeah.
right,
Slipping
we solve
along.
that problem. But I
Everybody
think your instincts are
coming out of the
right on.
woodwork and letting
Right,
us
your
know about the
standpoint,
call and
what we're
response
doing
signs.
Yeah.
in the
And
micro,
that is legit. That
right?
is an actual thing.
Cracked
So
open
shout out
one
to
of the
everybody.
access
Everybody on
panels of
YouTube
the
that
access
emailed
device.
us that all hit us
Look,
up. And was like,
you might see some stuff that's
So,
like, I can see
thanks,
how
Colin.
these
Yeah, we
things are
appreciate that.
descendants
for stepping
of
up
what gets put
and
together
letting us
in
know some shit.
that ring in macroscopic.
It's
got to be so
yeah.
frustrating that
If you'd like to help out the show,
but like
help us out a little bit. If you have a Patreon,
like
you can go over there and see if there's any tiers that you like.
it's like
Just look through it. We got extra
challenging,
content and stuff.
just
See something you like, sign up for it.
potential energy
Give
source
a Venmo.
that we have.
You can throw some change in the good old
Just like all technology, I mean, if you go back to the
you can't hear it.
Apollo program,
And
the amount of power
just as a monster too. We greatly appreciate
they had like a whole
everybody
giant
that helps us out.
computers, and now you just carry
Another thing you can do, the best thing you can do is tell everybody word of
yeah,
mouth.
we take that for
Spread the
granted.
show.
It's interesting you
Share
mentioned
it to all
that,
your
right?
spooky
If you look
friends.
back through
People who like weird shit.
if you think
People
about the
believe in
Industrial
aliens.
Revolution,
People are
when
haunted.
we started,
You know,
when we
the
came up with
whole
steam
crew.
power, right?
But then
And
it's
then
in
we
the
later
podcast.
figured
Throw a
out
name in the hat. Kind of get it out there. We appreciate
gasoline
it.
engines, right?
You can also
amount of
leave us a
power we had
wonderful
available to us
5-star rating
changed
and review
so
wherever you listen to
drastically,
podcasts.
right? The
I'll
change that it
usually
had on
try to find them. Like I said, Apple and iTunes are
cultures
I
is
usually
hard to
are my
fully
go-tos.
comprehend because I mean, if you
But
think about
I make my
all the
rounds.
different things that
So
get done,
today's 5-star rating
you know, a
is
single
from my
tractor
friend Matt in
with
Alaska.
one person on it will,
Matt in Alaska says,
you
I
know,
drive
do
a
all the stuff
giant
that's
Tonka
necessary
truck
to
for 12
seed a
hours,
field,
or for 12 and a half hour shifts, and you guys keep my mind
cultivate a
stimulated
field,
and help me stay awake.
to plow a
I
field.
love how you guys feed
And
off each other.
It's
Keep
amazing
it
to
up.
think that that's
Well,
possible
Matt,
just with one human being.
we're glad that we
on
can help you get
tractor.
through the
But
slog
you had
of
to
those
unlock
12 hour
all the
shifts.
energy,
That shit
the
sucks.
insights that
They are
unlock the
terrible.
energy.
I work 10s currently, and I fucking hate those.
I work 12s for like the last
Right, and so
3 years,
yeah, it's
and then I
neat to
swapped to
think how
8s, and
things
it's
like
like,
that change civilization.
Dude,
So
that's how I
in
feel
some ways,
just
it's
going
like
from 10s to
if you
8s.
think about the
So,
long-term
be safe
benefits
out there.
of
Please.
using something
And
like this to practice.
whatever we can do to
Right,
help you stay alert and awake. Driving them
we
big
talked
old
about the grid.
Alaskan
Right,
trucks.
you were here
Yeah,
in Texas.
we understand the struggle.
During
We're
very cold winter.
in the same boat.
ERCOT got its R removed. Right,
Our listener experience today comes to us from our friend Flick.
But imagine
She says,
a
"Hi,
future
Flick
where
here
we
from
can start
London,
to
England.
create
I'm
microgrids.
binging the current and back
Maybe
catalog,
eventually
and I've had a very
away
similar
from
experience to the guy in a
What would
coma
that type of
following brain
capability
injuries.
be for
I recorded my story.
parts
If
of
it's
the
good enough,
world that
please feel
currently
free to
don't have
use it,
any
or you guys
infrastructure
can read it out loud.
Right.
I'm not a
There's
very
lot of
good
places
narrator.
in Africa
Love the
where
pod, you
broad
are
based
awesome.
this
Love
type of
Flick.
capability where you can
Here is Flick's
plop a
story.
brick down on the table. It's 1
Hey
kilowatt.
there,
Right?
this is Flick from
Let people know
England.
if you make use of this. And so just like
I
Starlink
recently gave you a
provides
review, I think you were
this
awesome, and
opportunity
I'm
for
going
people in
through
remote
the back
locations to have
catalogue
access to
of
the internet.
um,
Right?
stories.
Potentially bring a
I'm on
solution to the table that
story
could help
number
a lot of places on the
42,
planet
and
that you know
it's so
they might
bizarre.
never
The
see
guy
otherwise. Right? So
with
that's the thing. So
the,
those
I'm
are the
listening
things
to the
that have us
current and
excited about
backstories as well.
as we continue
Mama, your show 42 had a story about a guy that had a brain aneurysm and woke up thinking that the son he lost as a baby had grown up, and his reality was not his family's reality. I would like to tell you about a similar experience I had. Back in 2014, I had a severe accident and was left with a brain injury, or that was a brain injury, and I was placed into an induced coma for around 3 months. During this time, I kind of, it's just weird. I mean, I was in there for 3 months, but when I came to, I believed that my son was still alive. I lost him when he was 13, and he would have been 28, 30, and I had, during the time that I'd been unconscious, I had lived a life with him in much the same way that the guy with the brain aneurysm. I saw him graduate from school, he went to university, he still played football, soccer in the UK, and I was still with my late ex-partner who was still alive. It was really bizarre, and when I woke up and saw my current partner, although I knew who he was, I was unsure as to whether he was with my son's father and where he was, and it was just the most bizarre thing. And to this day, sort of almost 10 years later, I do not have full recollection of things that have happened in real time. I remember things that happened when I was in a coma. I'm sorry, I don't think I'm explaining myself very well, but it was just the most bizarre thing. And things that I have seen in the coma have actually come true. I'll try and articulate that a bit more and send that again. Okay, you guys are awesome, absolutely awesome. I love the podcast. I'm listening to the new episode and an old episode, and I'm going that way. All right, thanks so much. Bye.
Look, first off, thank you so much for taking the time to send this experience.
It's a doozy.
It is just.
In that particular instance, even though you might be a little bit farther away from being able to power whole cars, you might be able to find opportunities for early adopters where, hey, for 99% of how you might use your electric vehicle, you have to plug it in. So from where we are now, with your current research and thoughts, these incredible ideas, what steps have to be taken?
Living an entire 15 years,
so the first
3
step
months,
is trying to get to the power magnitude I just described, 1.5 volts, 25 microamps. So we have these chips right here.
Heavy to wake
they
up.
can achieve very high voltages,
different.
but then they relax to a certain steady state voltage over the long term. Right? So they have the ability to provide steady state power, but it's like 30 millivolts with a steady state current.
To get to experience
so it's the current that we're currently working on right now. We're trying to get the current up to 25 microamp ability. And so that's the stuff that we're doing.
But then on the other side,
every month we're trying to do another generation of chips to go through and work the material science and get that capacity to that level. So making chips that's tough. That is tough business. So it's been quite the slog.
Even further, the fact
we've been
that
doing
things
this since
that
2020.
Experienced
the first chips we worked on took us
starting to happen.
18 months to make, and then we got the time down to 12 months, and then we got the time down to 7 months, and then we got these guys down to which actually this was a 2-week sprint by the time we did the design to the time we got it in hand. But roughly we're anticipating
It's hard to wrap your brain around.
once a month.
Is it your brain
making chips is very different from
trying to
how we view the rest
ease the rest of your body and other parts
you
of
think
your
about
mind
making something, you
where
think
it's
about
not focusing on whatever trauma that has just happened?
Or is it something to the point to where like
but when you
the
talk about
trauma
making
just knocks
chips,
you
it's
in
an entirely
to
different
another
approach to
reality,
how you make things. You
another
make things with light, and you make
content,
things with
everything's so much
plasma,
different.
right?
And then once that
This
trauma
would be a
starts
good
to heal,
opportunity for me to use a
you get
little
pulled back into
verbal
this.
description, and then you can grade me on
Once
how well
everything
I
gets to the point you're
communicate
nervous
this,
and
right?
survive,
So, yeah, how,
it pops you back into this time.
Yeah, it's almost
in
like
concept, how do you make something
her,
smaller
by being put in that trauma, her consciousness currently left her body to experience a consciousness in a different plane until it woke her and then it pulled her consciousness back.
Yeah.
It sounds pretty fantastic there, but that's, yeah, I don't know where to go here.
Yeah. How else do you explain it?
I don't know, man. Especially like, because who's anybody to say that that wasn't real? If it felt fucking real, if she can remember more details about being in her induced coma than life itself, who's to say what's real and what's not to her?
What is real?
Right.
Yeah, definitely send us. I didn't see if you had sent us anything else. I'll have to search up your name and see if your emails show up. But if you want to talk more about this, please send us some more stuff because I'm super curious as to like what you experienced in your coma that is now taking place.
Absolutely.
This is when I heard this, I was like,
it's like a first-hand life story.
yeah, exactly.
Manifest on a chip.
You just don't know where to go with it.
You can't see it. You could look at it with your eyes, but you couldn't see it.
Is it another plane of existence, or is it just your brain trying to get you to
put the image down on the chip.
I don't know.
So now the next thing you do is you take, let's say you got a silicon
definitely
wafer,
hit us back up.
and then
Send us some more information.
You apply something we call photoresist.
So from there,
like a really
we're gonna take a sharp
almost like
right turn here. We get into this rabbit hole
on the wafer, and you spin it at really high RPM, and it
UFO alien
so that it's very thin.
fuckery
I'm in.
that I have been running down. Like I found so many fucked up UFO stories in the last like 3 weeks. I'm just writing down shit that I want to do an episode. This one just happened to spiral out of control.
Fuck yeah, that's what we like.
Okay, so this story began to show up on internet forums in around 2005-ish, in a series of anonymous posts that began, it was on an email form. That was pretty popular in different UFO research groups. These emails that were released had contents that kind of seemed too fantastical to be real. But, as we know, sometimes things that are too fantastical to be real begin to show up and begin to be real. Some of these posts started to talk about a team of U.S. military scientists that were deployed to a habitable planet in a nearby binary star system. They were sent there for 10 years to collect evidence and study this planet. This specific project was known as Project Serpo and the Human Exchange Program.
Well, that sounds comforting.
Yeah. So, from 2005 to 2016, an anonymous poster claiming to be a retired official within a branch of the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency began disclosing information based on the experiences, findings, and scientific evidence that was recovered by 12 servicemen that were part of an interplanetary expedition. Of the crew of 12, only 7 were reported to make it back. Project Serpo, as it was called, is reported to be a classified government program that took place in the 1960s. It took 12 highly trained military astronauts to another habitable planet to study and document their environment, with the help of extraterrestrials and as with most cool UFO stories and the information that was released on it, everything started with the Roswell crash in 1987. It is reported that the incident isn't exactly how it was. That not one craft crashed over, but 2 that are said to have collided in midair.
I haven't heard that one, but I have heard the two craft went down that day.
Yeah, they said that there was a storm, pretty bad storm going on, and caused it to crash, to hit one another.
Interesting.
Another thing that convoluted the story was that the second craft was not found until 2 years later. So sort of a stretch, but
I guess but I also don't understand their technology plus the technology we had at the time. Because one would think an argument right off the rip would be that they are literally hyper advanced technological beings in the storm putting down. But that's also assuming that they have storm weapons on their planet. So could it be possible that some, fuck, a lightning bolt could hit the damn craft and just fry the bitch? I don't know.
Yeah. But they said, I think they said they collided midair. So I don't know, like you said, if maybe our atmosphere had something to do with it, or what the deal is. But
yeah, it could have been, maybe we don't know anything about it. It could have been a visual thing where the storm was so bad they couldn't see properly, or whatever the fuck case may be.
And as it's reported, the second craft wasn't found for 2 years later, so they kind of had to excavate it a little bit. But if you remember, like, if you look into some of the statements Bob Lazar made about Area 51, he talks about there being multiple crafts. He also uses the term excavated crafts. So it could point to him being privy of the second ship.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Hit so hard at the second. And according to the anonymous poster, the first craft was recovered in Corona, New Mexico, and it contained a live alien being that survived the crash, as well as 5 bodies of deceased aliens. A deputy arrived the following day's report and summoned a state police officer. One live entity was found hiding behind a rock. The entity was given water that declined food. The entity was later transferred to Los Angeles. All the debris and the bodies recovered from the first crash site were initially taken to Roswell Army Airfield in Roswell, New Mexico. The debris was eventually flown to Dayton, Ohio, home of the Air Force One Technology Division. The bodies of the dead aliens were transported to Wright Field in Ohio and kept in a form of deep freeze. They were later also transported to Los Alamos, where special containers were made to keep the bodies contained. The second site was reported to have not been discovered until August of 1949 by 2 rangers. They reported the findings several days later to the sheriff in Catron County, New Mexico. Because of the remote location, it took the sheriff several days to make his way to the crash site. Once he did, the sheriff took photographs and then drove to the Sandia Army Base in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and notified them. The recovery team from Sandia took custody of all evidence, including 6 bodies. The recovery of the second craft, they found the aliens to be specific, or especially decomposed because
that makes sense.
So animals in time had gotten to them. After being transported to Sandia Base, they eventually also went to Los Alamos. They determined that both crashed spaceships were of similar design, and the bodies of the aliens were almost all completely identical. They looked exactly the same. They had the same height, the same weight, and the same physical features. Almost as if they had been, like, out of the way. The document showed that they decided to start using specific terminology for the beings that were found. They were called EBEs, which is short for extraterrestrial biological entities. You'll hear me use that before I here, so keep that in mind. The living specimen that was found was labeled as EBE-1. The government at this point, of course, swooped in and began interrogating EBE-1. According to the information from this email drop, the entity could not communicate via human language, but it communicated in some strange tonal language that the officials could not understand. It just speaks and beeps and boops, I guess.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah, just a whole range of different tones and internet dial-up, I guess.
That's what it sounds like, the old 56K modem.
Reports vary on how they actually began communicating with the being. I've read that it was everything from telepathic communication to it was so quick or it was so smart that it could pull in human information in unprecedented pace and kind of learn our languages. I also have a report of a nurse that was on site who said that she was able to communicate with this being telepathically. Found the transcript of that interaction between the nurse and the entity.
I feel like either you and me have talked about this, or
I don't think
possible we've done a small episode.
I don't think we did an episode on this.
I know I've heard this section before somewhere. Maybe we didn't do an episode on it, but maybe we have talked about it previously. But I do recall hearing this story, I think.
Yeah. I don't think we've done it. I think we knew it.
Regardless, it plays into the big picture of what you're doing anyway. So.
Okay, so as they began to communicate with this being, EBE-1, they learned that it was from a planet about 40 light years away, and the Zeta Reticuli system called Serpent. Zeta Reticuli sounds familiar to any UFO heads out there. It's because it's the same system that Betty and Barney Hill was reportedly taken to in their abduction encounter. Some believe it's also the home of what we call the Greys, typical big head, big eye, etc. It's stated that this creature was not human, and they had a term for it, which was EBE. They also called it Nova. The different terminology used by various aspects of the U.S. military intelligence background. It is reported that it was male, and that within the EBE's race they do have males and females. EBE-1 was treated for some minor injuries and then taken to Los Alamos National Laboratories, which was the safest and most secure location in the world. Special accommodations were specifically made for EBE-1. I believe EBE-1 was a member of their Air Force or something similar to what we would consider natural. Some sort of exploration. It stayed alive until 1952, where it perished. They had learned a great deal from the EBE-1, and although he did not have voice organs like humans, he was able to communicate with an operation performed by military doctors. EBE was extremely intelligent. They learned English quickly, mainly by listening to military personnel who were responsible for EBE-1's safety and care. Many different military doctors, scientists, and a select number of civilians studied EBE-1. It never became a set name. It helped us learn from all the items found at the two crash sites. It showed us how some of the items worked, such as a communication device. It also showed us how various other devices worked. EBE-1 died of what military doctors considered natural causes, but they can't really specifically pinpoint what it was that made it pass away. We didn't have any standards to compare EBE-1's body with anything else that we've ever observed medically.
That makes sense.
Yeah. They said losing EBE-1 was the super huge blow to human science community, because it's basically the most interesting thing that they ever
I can imagine that.
Alien?
Yeah. And it almost makes you wonder how they treated it. You know, like, nothing, it doesn't matter if you're being super nice to it or not. Nothing wants to be under a microscope its entire existence.
Yeah.
You know? And did they keep it locked up in a room 24/7? Or did once it started being cool, did they start giving it privileges? Not that I'm kind of advocating for extraterrestrial well-being here, but if you choose to go down a dark road with that, that's going to obviously dictate a being's response to you. Not to mention a being or race's whole narrative towards you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because if homies back home find out you've been treating them like shit, what do you think homies back home are gonna do?
Keep that noted. Weird side note here, it's reported that EBE-1 could not hardly process any food at all. His body would reject it and make it extremely sick. While he was captive, it is said that he survived on a diet of different vegetables and cheeses that was provided to him. He wasn't equipped to process a lot of what we have on Earth. Doing a little digging in the Zeta Reticulum, came across an interesting anatomy differences.
It's not like
Apparently, they didn't have
Leonardo da
many
Vinci
processing organs like
imagined
kidneys
raising
and
up these
bladders
next brush strokes on the
shit
ceiling of
used
the
to
Sistine
filter
Chapel.
out all the bad shit that we eat.
But certainly
Real quick,
it could
hey, I
potentially,
thought you said
take
cheese
images
this,
of
which I was
the
like,
chapel
oh,
and
my
mix it
I mean,
man.
could have.
an image
Another
of,
thing that is
some
interesting
other
to point
modern
out
art
here
or whatever, come up
is
with some
that
cool
right there, this is, well, not in all
So I
extraterrestrial
still think-
cases, but
I
we
think
have heard
we better
reports that there are
understand
theories
what is
that
consciousness,
the graves
right, before we can
and
really
beings like the
do that.
graves are more or less
Oh, that's, yeah,
biological robots that get sent out into the universe, which that right there,
I don't know,
I
it's a
mean,
good question.
so far in your research, that right there would kind of prove otherwise, because it is,
You know, maybe
has to be.
this
yes,
comes
it has to
down
be,
to,
and it drank water too.
But it gets. I like
nature
where you're going.
of
It's gonna tie shit together further on. This is
there
not
are
necessarily
other forms of
related
radiation.
to the report, but I did
Scalar
find
field fluctuations with the quantum field.
another
Beyond
website where it has
electromagnetic,
gray
like the light
physiology and
speed
anatomy.
is electromagnetic
Apparently, this was
radiation.
taken from a controversial Crow report,
Scalar fluctuations was just
which
a
made its
whole
rounds
other
on
realm
UFO
of
boards
radiation
earlier
that
on
currently
in
don't
the
have any
90s.
sensors to detect.
We
Right,
could do
there
a
may be
whole fucking
biology
episode
that
on
uses
Crow
those
reports.
types of things.
Oh, I think I've heard of that.
So there
Yeah,
are
yeah.
things
That they
inside
talked
cell
about
structures
multiple
called
dimensions.
Good.
How
Right up our alley.
Shit.
something
But
about
they
microfield
describe the
radiation.
Greys in Grey's Anatomy.
But
From the
cells
site.
have
The
microtubular
approximate height is
structures.
between 3.5 to 4.5 feet tall. The head, by human standards, is large in comparison with the body. Facial features show a pair of eyes, described as large, sunken, deeply set in, far apart, or distended more than human, slightly slanted, or oriental in nature. No earlobes or apertures on the side of the head were seen. The nose is vague. One or two holes have been mentioned.
So it's your typical gray, like you picture a gray, that's pretty much what it is.
The mouth area is described as a small slit or fissure. In some cases, there is no mouth at all. It appears not to function as a means for communication or food. The neck area is described as being thin, and in some instances not being visible at all of their tightly knit suits. Most observers describe these humanoids as being hairless. Some of the bodies recovered have a slight hair patch on top of their head. Others have what appear to be silver skull caps. There was no breathing attachments or communication devices. This suggests telepathy or higher intelligence. In one instance, there was an opening in the right frontal lobe area, revealing a crystalline network. This network implies the development of a third brain.
Yeah, this was the moment. So it's definitely
Second brain sounds like
That's exactly what I was getting ready to say.
Yeah. The arms are described as long and thin, reaching down to the knee section. The hangers contain 4 fingers, with no thumbs. 3 fingers are longer than the others. Some are very long. Some are very long.
Do you know when this came out? Like this right here.
The Krill report, I want to think it's in the 90s.
What year was Independence Day made? There's a lot of fucking similarities between the aliens and that and what you're describing right now.
And also when the Pastor Will incident.
Yeah. Yeah.
That whole throating.
Yeah, and like, because if you remember in Independence Day, the aliens had no mouth. They fit. Because the aliens were an exoskeleton, the big exoskeleton. The ones inside, they look like your typical gray, but they have no mouth. And so like those similarities. Obviously, you'd have to merge the exoskeleton arms and stuff. But if you did, then
you're not following. Further in, there are witnesses. I didn't write it down because I didn't think it was pertinent to the story. But there was witnesses who interviewed. A reporter who interviewed witnesses that were on site when the exchange took place with the 12. And they said that those smaller transport ships, the only way you could describe it is like Origin 1.2.
interesting. Interesting. That is interesting. Because I'm sure Independence Day was made in probably the mid to late 90s.
Yeah,
somewhere in the 90s. It was definitely the 90s.
So back to the description of the Greys, which I want to point out that the EBEs, the Ebens is what the government will eventually call them, are not specifically Greys. They're 2 separate races, but they are very similar. No description is available for the legs and feet. Some pathologists indicate that the section of the body was not developed as we would anticipate. showing that some of these beans were adapted to life in the water. There was a webbing effect between the fingers on most of the specimens. According to most observers, the skin is gray. Some claim to be beige, tan, or pinkish gray. No reproductive organs or capabilities were discovered. No phallus, no womb. Confirms cloning mentioned by other sources. The humanoids appear to be from a mold, sharing identical racial and biological characteristics. There is no blood as we know of, but there is a fluid which is grayish in color. I also found a letter from local conspiracy theorist John Weir, and he states this about the conjunctions of the Greys. He says that they have a genetic disorder in which their digestive systems will almost atrophy and completely not function. He seems to indicate that they suffer from some sort of unknown disease or some sort of nuclear radiation. They sustain themselves by an enzyme of hormonal secretion obtained from the tongues and throats of cows and humans. He notes that cows and humans are genetically similar, and in the event of disaster, we can alter cow's blood to use as an alternative for blood transfusion. The secretion extracted from the blood is mixed with other unknown substances that are applied directly to the skin of the beast, which absorb the mixture and then excretes them back from the skin.
So, one thing real quick, because it doesn't make sense to me. If they are being cloned, I guess you could. My point was going to be, if they're being cloned, why have different sexes? Because in some cases it says that there are no. So we get into it doesn't make sense. It doesn't. If you're going to the full cloning process, but I guess in hindsight, if you were essentially using old DNA, you are going to have to go from a pool of male and female. So that does make sense to a degree.
It'll start to come to fruition, and our even friends here start to take on a kind of not so friendly role in the universe.
Hey, surprise, surprise!
Interesting, right? So back to our ego.
We always seem to find the negative in things.
Yeah, I was just kind of giving you guys some anatomy of the Greys, considering that they're similar.
Well, it's pertinent because a lot of people.
And it talked about cloning.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Hey, Holocaust, have you ever gotten back from a paranormal investigation and woken up with some funky symptoms like swollen itchy eye, tight pain in your neck, weird cold symptoms that just won't go away, and then you immediately Googled it or searched TikTok to see what's wrong? We've all gone down that rabbit hole, but it's time to get the help and care you need with ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 100,000 doctors across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, primary care to urgent care, and more. You can filter doctors who take your insurance, are located nearby, are a good fit for any medical need you may have, and are highly rated by verified patients. Luckily, I haven't had to book an actual doctor's appointment. I've stayed pretty healthy, but I have used the app to book a mock appointment. It is great. It's so easy. It's a one-stop shop for any of your booking needs. You can search up doctors close by, doctors in your insurance network, ones that have short wait times. It really is nice. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/hollow1 to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/HOLO1. ZocDoc.com/hollow1. Hey, Holocult, do you remember a time where if you wanted weed, you had to meet up with some sketchy dude on the dumpster in a Denny's parking lot? You don't have to do that anymore, because you can get federally legal THC shipped right to your front door. How can you get that done? With Mood. Mood delivers premium, 100% federally legal THC right to your door. And you can get 20% off your first order at mood.com/HOLO. And enter coupon code HOLO. I'm talking high-potency gummies, top-shelf flour, home-baked cookies, vapes, anything you find in a dispensary, you can now order online and have it shipped quickly, discreetly, and conveniently right to your door. Every Mood product is made from pesticide-free cannabis grown on America's best small farms at prices that won't destroy your wallet. Best of all, not only is every Mood product backed by a 100-day satisfaction guarantee, but as I mentioned, listeners get 20% off their first order with code HOLO. So head over to mood.com/HOLO. Check out their online dispensary and let Mood help you discover your perfect life. And don't forget to use coupon code HOLO when you check out to save 20% on your first order.
The best piece of financial advice I've ever received is to pay yourself first. That's why now with every paycheck I receive, I start by putting a little bit away for those rainy days. Today's episode is sponsored by Acorns. Acorns is a financial wellness app that makes it easy to start saving and investing for your future. Acorns lets you get started with the spare money you've got right now, even if all you've got is spare change. You don't need to be an expert. Acorns recommends a diversified portfolio that can help you weather all of the market's ups and downs. Using Acorns, before I knew it, I had a couple $1,000s in a little nest egg account. Sign up now and join the over 14 million all-time customers who have already saved and invested over $25 billion with Acorns. Head to acorns.com/hiddentruecrime or download the Acorns app to get started. Paid non-client endorsement. Compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Tier 1 compensation provided. Investing involves risk. Acorns Advisors LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/hiddentruecrime.
So, back to EBE1. He was a visitor to our planet instead. He was taken to several different locations, mostly warm. When he arrived at Los Alamos, he remarked that he liked the cooler climate. Meeting Los Alamos in the summer. State that Los Alamos in the summer cooler. However, when he was taken to Washington, D.C., very close to the climate control state, the climate there was hard to control. Information was found about their society. He gave us the alien civilization. This is reported to be briefed to Ronald Reagan.
The climate thing actually kind of makes sense if you sit and think about it. Because they're small, thin, and they have no hair. It kind of actually makes sense if you really break that down. That makes sense that they would require more water. Yeah, me either.
Yeah. So in this briefing to President Ronald Reagan, it stated the alien civilization the Ebens came from, which we will come to call the Eben Society. Eben was not a name that they gave us, but it was a name that the government chose for them. It stated that their lifespan is between 350 and 400 years in Earth years. They even don't have any similar characteristics to that of humans, with the exception of their eyes, ears, and mouth. Their internal organs are different. Their skin is different. Their eyes, ears, and their breathing is different. Their blood isn't red, and their brain was entirely different from humans. You could not classify any part of the aliens with humans. They had blood and skin, and although considerably different than human skin. Their eyes had two different eye layers, which is probably because their home planet, which we'll find out, is very bright. EBE1 did explain where he lives in the universe. We call the star system Zeta Reticuli, which is about 40 light years from Earth. EBE's planet is within the star system. Our closest star is 4 light years away, Alpha Centauri, the yellow star, the brightest star in the constellation Centaurus, and it is 4.3 light years away. It took EBE's spaceship 9 of our Earth months to travel the 40 light years. Now, as you can see here, the EBE spaceship either traveled faster than the speed of light. This is where it kind of gets weird, because he states that those spaceships can travel through a form of what he described in our language as space time, to get them from point A to point B faster without having to travel at the speed of light. Almost a wormhole.
That's what I was getting ready to say. It's like a wormhole.
They harness wormhole technology, which is fucking crazy. They seem to be able to bend the distance from one point in space to another. Whoever's writing the report says that they cannot fully understand how they travel, but we have many top scientists who understand the concept. The laws of physics on their planet are not the same as our planet, especially when it comes to the movement of their planet in relationship to its two suns. Our scientists don't understand it because it defies the laws of our own physics. Which, again, its two suns rather than one like ours. Their sun do not set. Their daylight is during the entire day, with the exception of a short period where both suns depicted rising. So very little darkness. Right until sunset, the horizon is According to reports, EBE-1 managed to salvage a communication device from his downed aircraft, attempted to make contact with his home planet.
Ruh-roh.
He tried a total of 6 times, and all 6 times failed to make contact. EBE-1 sent 6 messages. The first message was just letting his planet know that he was alive. The second message explained the crash in 1947 and the death of his crew. The third message asked for a rescue craft report. The fourth message suggested a formal meeting with our Earth. The fifth suggested an exchange program. The sixth message provided landing coordinates to any future rescue visitations to Earth. The incoming messages gave a time and a date, even date and time system, and confirmed the landing location. However, once the message was translated by EBE-1, it was determined that the date was over 10 years away. Fearing that EBE-1 was sick at this point, did not translate the message correctly, our scientists began to translate the message based on the Eben language that was taught to us by the Romans.
Yeah, I've only cried a couple times when my famous person died. That's when I broke down. Heath Ledger and Steve Earle was one of the others. Yeah, that was a bummer. Yeah, Steve Earle especially. Chadwick Boseman from
within this time period, EBE-1 the agents and scientists that were working for him started to receive messages back from his home planet. Whether or not this is from the initial contact he sent out and then replying to it, or whether they got the communication device working, is unclear. Now with EBE-1 gone, they have a problem. They don't know how to interpret the messages.
Right.
So did Norm Macdonald. He did the same thing.
So after a few months of trying to translate these messages, they just are like, you know what, the Ebens are so much smarter than us, they just started sending messages to him in English. Just fucking throwing it out there. And it didn't take them long for them to understand our language, and they started getting responses back in broken English. Oddly enough, it stated that they did not use verbs.
So, that's weird.
That to me, that's the funniest thing of all time.
Action.
He's one of all time greats.
Yeah, for sure.
Over the next 9 years of communication, they devised this trade program between Earth and Serpo. I couldn't find much information regarding the contents of the interactions at this time. I'm assuming it's either redacted or classified. It just sort of jumped this trade program from sending humans to Serpo and having Ebens connected. At this juncture, the Air Force is pretty much in total control of the program. They decided to make a very strict selection process for the journey. Candidates had to be career military officials with multiple special skill sets across different military backgrounds. They could not be married. They could have no children, preferably completely orphaned. So they wanted no blood ties here for planet Earth.
Nobody to look for you when you're gone.
Yeah, basically a suicide mission. Yeah, pretty much planning nobody's going to. After months of going through the selection process, they narrowed it down to a dozen candidates. Some reported there was 10 men and 2 women, while other accounts just say that it was 12 men. Regardless, they each with different useful skill sets and various traits. They called this crew the Galactic 12. After being chosen in some versions of the account, the Galactic 12 were completely scrubbed from the public record. Any documentation of these 12 individuals that were existing was methodically explained from history. In other versions, they were first listed as missing in action in military exercises around the world to pursue the dead. Then, from there, they would change it to being completely scrubbed from the public, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, because if you're going to say they're MIA, let's say they're MIA.
Yeah, because either story works.
Yeah, and surely people fucking do. They had interaction with people. They had friends, and they had not so much family, but they had acquaintances and shit.
But at the same time, what do you do if they completely scrub you from existence? Because you can sit there and tell somebody till you're blue in the face that no, this person's real, and then you're like, prove it, bitch. Yeah. And there's literally nothing out there.
And being scrubbed from the public sounds way more like conspiracy and X-File-ish.
Oh, 100%. It definitely adds to the story, regardless. Although, I feel like the more logical one would be to say they're missing it.
That's what I agree. Just left it at that.
Because the government, they've done it. Like, we're families are investigating someone missing in action, and the government, all they have to do is just, they don't give a shit. Yeah. We're doing our best. Goodbye.
Each team member was not identified by a name. They got a number, a 3-digit number. From that point on, they were identified by the number only. Even each member identified others by their 3 digits. They never used their real name. So they wanted to almost keep all emotional connections. It is stated in diaries and documents that came back from Serpo that once they left planet Earth and got to Serpo, they gave each other nicknames. Team commander was identified as Skipper, medical officers were Doc 1, Doc 2, pilots were Sky King and Flash Gordon. Even though it wouldn't make any difference if they used their real names on Serpo, they were disciplined enough to continue using their numbers. In a release I found a series of their numbers here, but this just kind of tells you who they picked to go there. There was a team commander, an assistant team commander, 2 team pilots, 2 linguists, a biologist, 2 scientists, 2 doctors, and a security guard. After extensive selection process, each team member had to demonstrate their ability to endure hardships, which included a battery of psychological tests, medical screenings, and a PAT, a positive attitude test, which is a military test given to pilots and special force personnel. The rigorous training consisted of the following: an introduction to space exploration taught by NASA personnel, astronomy, identification of stars, use of telescopes, and general astrophysics, even anthropology, based on information received from Unit 1, even history, basic information received from Unit 1, U.S. military field medical training, trauma care. This is given to non-medical personnel on the team. High-altitude training, parachute and weightlessness, zero oxygen environment training, survival, escape and evasion training, basic weapons and explosive training. 6 pounds of C4 was taken. Psychological operations training and anti-interrogation preparation.
I mean,
if you get there and they want to know shit,
they are preparing for worst case scenario.
They're waiting to get there and they're just being
yeah, shit true.
Yeah. Small unit tactical training, mini 4-week U.S. Army Ranger course.
I know for a fact that the survival, escape, and evasion training is fucking horrid.
Multiple intelligence gathering courses, space geology, collection methods used of specialized geological equipment. How the fuck do they have? They already had training courses on gathering shit from outer space.
I don't know, dude. I think the same thing when you went through the space exploration by NASA. Like, bitch, we don't know what we're doing up there. Shut up.
Physical stress training, methods to cope with confinement and isolation, nutrition courses, equipment use training, individual specialty training, basic biology, other training which is still considered extremely highly classified even in the 40 years after Lincoln's was released, so 65 to 2000. Each team member had to endure extreme psychological and physical training. In one training test, each member was locked inside a 5x7 box and carried 7 feet underground for 5 days, with just food and water, no contact with anyone else, in total darkness. This tested several factors. They also gave each team member a placebo pill. The pill was a standard use for intelligence agents and operating behind enemy lines. The pill could end their life if, for some reason, they needed to take it.
Yeah, as soon as you said pill, I knew exactly where you were at. But dude, imagine how hard that would be. You buried underground, shitting and pissing all over yourself for 5 days or however many days. No contact with anyone, nobody checking up on you.
Yeah, and they probably didn't tell them the word. Woke up buried.
Guaranteed. And then on top of that, you don't even have zero idea what time it is. You could have been in that box for 2 hours or 10 days, and you don't know. You have no fucking clue.
Terrible.
Because you know they're not giving you a cell phone, they're not giving you a watch, they're not giving you shit. The only upside to that, the only thing that would give me hope As if they gave me food.
Yeah, so they're wanting you to win.
Yes, they want you to
But they're also giving you the option for an out. Like,
yeah, that's
you
true
go.
too.
Several selected team members, pilots, were trained on flying even crafts, one of which was captured near the western New Mexico border in 1949. The plan called for the selected few to fly the craft back to Earth in case of emergency. If they had to get the fuck out of there, hijack one of them and bring them back to Earth.
That's fucking wild.
Isn't it?
It's like you can't.
Awesome.
It's like that piece of
It
shit.
is kind of cool.
See, now this gets confusing. There's a discrepancy here. It says that there were 4 pilots on the team.
The original said 2.
Yeah. I read that there were actually 16 members picked. So 4 alternates in case somebody backed out or something happened.
Gotcha,
so I
that
think
makes
this
sense.
may fall in. These 4 spent many weeks at the Nevada complex learning to fly the recovered even alien craft. It wasn't hard to fly once one could understand the operational controls. The writer says, I'm sure many of the UFO sightings back in 64-65 around the West Coast could be attributed to these test flights by our team members. Each team member selected was sent to a special facility camp at Camp Perry, Virginia. This was an intelligence training location. We took over a complete complex site at Perry. Most of the training took place there, but some special training was accomplished at Shepherd Air Force Base in Wichita Falls, Texas, Ellis Air Force Base, South Dakota, Dow Air Force Base in Maine, and isolated locations in Mexico and Chile. The training lasted for 167 days. The team was allowed only 15 days off during this period, but they were closely guarded. Just prior to their trip, each team member was transported to the United States Disciplinary Barracks in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, and confined in the locked cells. This prevented them from communicating with anyone in the outside world and kept each under close watch. There was, however, a change of plans. We received a message from the Evens stating that they did not wish to make the exchange during their initial visit to Earth. They wanted to meet first and then plan the exchange in person. This created many problems with the team since they were ready for the exchange. We sent a return message, but we didn't receive a reply. In December 1963, the Evens sent a message confirming the time, date, and location of their landing. This message stated that 2 crafts were en route to Earth and would make the appropriate landing at the pre-arranged location. However, our government was suffering from the loss of President Kennedy during this time. Some in the project wanted to cancel the exchange because of his death, but President Johnson was debriefed and decided to continue the event, although it was noted that Johnson didn't really believe it would happen. Our team planned for 2 locations, one cover location at the Holloman Air Force Base near Alamogordo, New Mexico, and the other, which would be the actual landing location just west of Holloman, near the southern entrance to the White Sands Mountains. The first Even aircraft entered our atmosphere during the afternoon of April 24, 1964. The Even craft landed at the wrong location, near Socorro, New Mexico. Our team was in close to White Sands. We were able to communicate a message to the Even craft. They landed in the wrong location. The second craft picked up the message and landed at the correct location. Even craft landed exactly at the location that was sent, and there were 16 senior U.S. government officials on the ground. Some were political, and some were senior officials, including military officers. Evens exited their craft and walked into a pre-located canopy. The Evens gave gifts of their technology, and they had a crude translator device. It appeared to be some sort of microphone with a readout screen. The senior U.S. official was given one of the devices and Even took the other one. The official spoke into the device, and the screen showed a printed form of a voice message in both Even and English. It was crude and hard to understand everything that was said. The exact transcript of the meeting won't be discussed at this time. Evens decided to make the exchange, but not until the following year. July 1965 was set as the location to be decided upon as the Nevada test site. Planners did not wish to keep the same location for fear that something might leak. Team members were kept at Fort Leavenworth until May 1964. They were transported to Camp Perry. The team was isolated for the next 6 months, going over the same training they received. They fine-tuned their individual skills and learning some new skills. This gave the team an opportunity to better understand the Even language. Although most team members had difficulty learning the language, 2 linguists on the team were able to hone their skills. In April of 1965, the team was transported back to Fort Leavenworth, and they waited until July when they were transported to Nevada. During the exchange, only a few select officials were present. Other than the preparation crew for the exchange, the even craft landed, our team was placed on board, and the amount of supplies loaded on board the even craft was that of 90,500 pounds of food.
That's a significant amount.
It is a significant amount. So they're clearly just trying to prep them to spend, I guess it was predetermined they're going to spend 10 years at Circle. So the list of equipment, fucking, I found a whole big long list. I just picked out a couple of things of note here. First and foremost, they took a ton of music. They just, I guess everybody's super into it. They figured that the beings spoke in tones and shit. They took everything from Elvis to Bob Dylan to the Beach Boys to Bach and Beethoven. They even took various music based around like chants, Native American chants, Tibetan chants, African chants, thinking that this was kind of closer to the Evens tonal language. They took a portable X-ray machine, along with numerous other medical equipment and items. Tons of scientific testing material with everything from radiation testing kits to diamond drills for geological testing. They took 1,000 pounds of C4, one nuclear detonating kit.
Oh, wow.
24 military handguns loaded to be Colt 45s for the report, 24 M16s, 6 M66s, 2 M40 grenade launchers, 2 60 millimeter mortar tubes with 30 rounds each, 5,000 rounds of .223 ammo, 500 rounds of 45 ammo, 10 seismic deep hole drills, 10 military combat motorcycles, 3 M151 Jeeps, 3 military trailers, 1 military lawnmower,
Okay.
2,500 gallons of fuel, small canisters of liquid nitrogen, chewing gum, lifesavers, suicide pills, along with tons of
Some interesting choices there.
There was a...
I wish I had a military lawnmower.
I don't even... I guess you're going in completely blind.
But a lawnmower?
So you don't know what you're gonna need.
For a lawnmower.
I mean, I guess a lawnmower.
You ain't even one. I can mow your lawn for you, bro. I got you.
So there was a lengthy discussion between the leaders, the heathens on the planet, and our government about all the weapons. Because clearly,
they get some firepower.
Taking a nuclear detonating kit.
Which is that they probably have a warhead tucked away somewhere.
Scary thing is,
It goes to show their confidence / arrogance.
Bring it on up here, boys. So clearly, most of this stuff was taken just to help the military members be safe, because they're going to be roasted.
Oh yeah.
And
they probably thought worst case scenario, between 1,000 pounds of C4 and a nuclear warhead, we can at least let them know, hey, don't fuck with us.
Just set it off. But even that, they're just like,
okay.
They didn't bring it.
That is pretty sketchy. Yeah. They're not worried at all.
In reports, it said that smaller ships are used to take these ice outside of our atmosphere. The reporter that interviewed people said that the closest thing you could describe it as is the limitation. Evens left just one person, or one even here as exchange. So
your good faith thing.
12 for 1 swap. And if we had any issues here on Earth and we want to understand it, one of theirs to be here to help try to help bridge the communication.
That makes sense.
So,
especially with the Evens' capacity to learn, that is also what's scary, because the fact that they can learn lightning fast and then you leave one here as like a quote-unquote liaison, and yet all they're basically doing is just sucking up all of the information they can possibly suck up, and then forwarding it on to their entire race. That's a little bit of a red flag for this guy.
So,
I mean, I realize it's a double-edged sword, so we have the opportunity to learn too, but as means they have grossly pointed out that understanding one's intentions, yeah, I think it's, you never really know where they fall.
I'm gonna go ahead and end this one right here because we're right at the spot where we're getting ready to get on the big ship. We're ready to take off.
So I'm excited to venture out because, like you said, it's like being in a little movie. We're exploring a movie.
If this is fucking real, which I have no more reason to believe it's not than I have to believe it is.
I feel like it is. Because they essentially gave us voice to text, and now it's,
I mean, they even did great at first, actually.
Told you.
So,
I mean,
I wish that were really because
well, and even people have thought about it a million times. I'm not gonna keep kicking this, but the technological jump that humans have made all of a sudden is pretty fast.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, so it totally makes sense that somebody somewhere fucking helped us.
But somebody told me there's something fucked up
Jump
about
right where we are. I'm just gonna make some
whatever
notes here.
terms apply. There was the thing that you have to agree
A
to.
bunch of
That it has something in there.
websites and shit that I use. Once I heard about it, I started listening to a bunch of podcasts. My main one was the Alien Theorists Theorizing. Case file 123, Project Circle. They did a real good kind of overlay of the entire thing. They didn't dive into it as deep as this is, but they kind of gave their own little commentary on it. I pulled a lot out of the other ones that kind of connected. Bob Lazar talking about excavating the ships and shit, and I thought that was a pretty good point.
Oh, for sure.
When they said that the ships were excavated, and he specifically said that the ships were excavated out of the ground, kind of ties it in. Also, a lot of this comes directly from this Google website called the Night Owl News, and the person who wrote this pulled it from another webpage, www.oocities.org, where a man by the name of Maurice Osborne went through the entire Serco page of all the leaked documents and kind of combined them into a smaller series to where it's kind of easier to read and get through. So I used that and pulling a lot of shit directly from that because the story is so fucking wild. A lot of it is just government officials, excerpts of them talking. I also, for the Krill part, I used UFOfandom.com /wiki/OHKrill, and for all that good alien matter, alienfandoms.com/wiki. Check it out and further look into it. We're going to start off the next episode as they all start to leave Earth. I have pulled some excerpts from the diaries of the Galactic 12. They have a ton of them at the website. I just pulled some couple pages of different interesting ones and kind of pieced back and forth. So be sure to next week is testing you. The Galactic 12 are getting ready to head to a particular star system.
Not me. Fuck that. I can only imagine. Because we're a duck species. And the fact that that asshole has 3 brains, we're definitely screwed.
They treated these people as much as the thing's terrifying. They didn't hide anything. Everything that you find out that they're up to,
I don't even care.
this is what we
in the end, think about it. It's like the king and the peasant, right? Because the king knows, bitch, I'm in charge here. Like, you have nothing.
Like we're bringing
that's our biggest and baddest.
And they're like,
okay,
board.
The carry it, don't you?
Yeah, we can.
We'll just test it out once we get it. See what it goes.
I
think the thing is that they stay in the report. Sometimes it's just to make
the guys feel
the
better.
guys feel better.
What also has management do a fuckload more than what they've been letting their dudes know about.
Yeah, it gets these reasons get sometimes it kind of sets off a domino effect of pretty much all ufology as we know it.
Interesting.
A whole bunch of all your dreams and Project Rothschild kind of started a trip down from this
Well, and to be fair, like when it comes to today's news, surprising that all these crafts that are being reported and stuff are ours. The fact of the matter might be that we didn't create it. So, like, I can believe that today's that we're seeing are ours, but that technology did not originate with us. Like somebody would have had to have enlightened us, so to speak, right into it.
Roswell was so convoluted, remember? Oh, it's a UFO crash. No, it's not. It's a weather balloon crash. And then there was so much other things I can't fucking remember. This comes out. I know about Roswell's correct. There's multiple those crashes.
Not only were there bodies, there were living bodies.
I love that they go to give me food.
Yeah, give me some water. I can't eat, so I definitely ain't trying. You don't trust.
All right.
Well, I'll take that back. You don't trust. Then again, you might want the extraterrestrials.
That's what I was saying. I mean, if we're going with the Greys, though, they do totally.
Oh, that's true.
Which,
I will.
cattle beetles. So many of the relationships with cattle.
Setting up shop in some fucking dictatorship.
Well, I am the general.
You know, like you're always with some guy who's a dictator, and you're like,
I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Yeah, tune in next week. We're going to
It's gonna be cool.
Next 12, we're going to take off. We got a whole bunch of their diary entries here.
I'm vibing this pretty hard right now. I'm liking it. I really am.
Oh, check us out on our social media. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, Discord. Come hang out with us. Stay safe. Stay weird. UFO crashes outside the house.
In honor of Military Appreciation Month, Verizon thought of a lot of different ways we could show our appreciation, like rolling out the red carpet, giving you your own personal marching band, or throwing a bumping shindig. At Verizon, all in form of special military offers. That's why, this month only, we're giving military and veteran families a $200 Verizon gift card and a phone on us with a selection. Think of it as our way of flying a squadron of jets overhead while launching fireworks. Now that's what we call a celebration, because we're proud to serve you. Visit your local Verizon store to learn more. $200 purchase and a new line on Apple plan. Gift card within 8 weeks after receipt. Phone offer requires $799.99 purchase with new smartphone line and unlimited ultimate or postpaid unlimited plus $80 taxes and fees for 36 months. Less $800 trade-in or promo credit applied for 36 months. 0% APR. Trade-in must be from Apple, Google, or Samsung. Trade-in and additional terms.
One of the largest Star Wars fan collections in the world is coming to Galaxies on 10. It's a one-of-a-kind exhibition with iconic characters, legendary ships, costumes, and behind-the-scenes secrets. You must see your Star Wars fan, or just curious about one of the most famous of all time. Unofficial Galaxy coming to Kosai starting on May 10th. So get your tickets now at kosai.org.
Do you want to help kids with their feelings but aren't sure how? Research shows many people to support mental health. That help is here. Backed by experts at the Nationwide Children's Hospital, the Kids Mental Health Foundation offers free resources to help you create a program for kids in your life. Visit kidsmentalhealthfoundation.org for more, because kids' mental health starts with us.
One of the largest Star Wars fan collections in the world is Unofficial Galaxy Galaxies opens on May 10th, and this is a one-of-a-kind exhibition with iconic characters, props, legendary ships, costumes, and behind-the-scenes secrets. It's going to be a must-see whether you're a hardcore Star Wars fan or just curious about one of the most famous sci-fi franchises of all time. Unofficial Galaxies is coming to Kosai starting on May now at kosai.org.
In honor of Celebration Month, Verizon thought of a lot of different ways to show appreciation, rolling out the red carpet, giving you your personal market, or bumping shit. After we're doing all of it in the form of special offers. That's right, this month only. We're giving military and veteran families a $200 Verizon gift card and a phone on us. With select trade-in and a new line of line. Think of it as our way of bringing us jets and launching fireworks. That's what we call a celebration. Because we serve. Visit your local Verizon store to learn more. $200 Verizon gift card requires smartphone purchase $799.99 with new line level plan. Gift card to keep flight. Phone offer requires $79.99 purchase with an unlimited alternate or postpaid unlimited. Minimum $80 with auto pay plus taxes and fees for 36 months. Less trade-in or promo plans applied for 0% APR. Trade-in to Google or
Some of them from the Japanese that are actually on the tardigrades are on the moon and they're like in a steady state of it. And then we brought them back to the United States. So there was this experiment where they're integrating tardigrade DNA into human DNA. But what happens if someone develops a the unless it's able to like that's not outside of possible. Or they work with something like that person who was
podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Steven, and thank you so much for hanging with us on this wonderful Monday.
I'm not a date center or time. I started with the idea of looking into my last and then I found a book. Well, cool, I'll just call it. I read this book, and they went left, right, up, down, around. Not to say that it isn't good, it's a lot of fun, it's like cool. Possibly people are going to get to run down. It was definitely not exactly what I was expecting. Plus, the cover the goal same thing.
He's bringing us that.
Yeah, left, right, up, down, baby. Yeah, they Mortal Kombat cheat code.
I'm getting more of that. Yeah. All this house experience, so check us out at all social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Come to this or come hang out, popping off like crazy, which is awesome. Any paranormal experience you'd like to share with us? All the deep
record this on a smartphone using like the map warrior. Instead of email, which would be howlstarcast@gmail.com. Write your story out, give it a phone, what's going on. Some people want to just come on and talk. Others are just send it to them talk. Others are just send it to them text or call. Text or call. The phone is going to be 1-856-083. Leave a voicemail and remember to turn so you have very like our whatever you want. So we're kind of yeah, we're tight on time. So I was thinking about scheduling. Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, yeah, if you like to show me, you can pop over there, check out those tiers, see if that's something you're here. Extra content, somebody also have you can if not, you gotta know it's changed. There. Best thing you can do is share us, word of mouth, share episodes on social media, your friends, your podcast, just throw a name there, just keep it grassroots.
Remember, those people leave reviews. Come up with clever names. Enjoy
Today's comes to us from. You guys have been in the podcast for about a year now, I believe. You guys are amazing. Give me a show idea if you haven't done it. Look forward to more.
Well, you should talk about that for here.
We haven't went into anything.
They're more like everything. The guy.
Tied into both.
Oh, you should get along with my closer than me.
Anyway, I want to take time to review. We said, special positive. We'll see some scripted. Here to our listeners. Ryan. So it says, hey, paranormal story, new listener. Hey, thank you for the podcast with you. I like your dynamic. It's like listening to the show. Anyway, a bit of an attractor. Everything happened in comedy. Not entirely sure why that is behind the string. I have one story and many the contacts for the story. Place of interest about Life Hill. Verse on Hill. Now, we got to tell of a tragic family in a horse and buggy. See, he was a farmer. His only daughter lived in Eastern known as Kitty John Lime Baker. For one day, there is none around that remember exactly what it was to running, John rushing recklessly with her, and Becker was never faced with folks of the church. Gets covered and his grief never ceases. He tells the judge of this day surging down the roads for his first my experience one stormy spring night around 11 o'clock. That he eats something happy. Car so to the runs. The minefield pulls him to the hill. After hiding in the dark street. Probably about 4 minutes himself acting like 4. We appeared just out of the struck my big block name. Anything. I got back in the car, made it a section. Hill with a dim cast of light. The person is going. Seeming a really like manifest naturally was speaking in silence. Then manifested on small object by the surgeon's shape. Then he put his shoes and legs of pain began inside the face. Here's what he said. Something light and thick may have been very important. That's the best of what I figured I disappointed and would never turn. He said, I told us if you find him until the script was all never wrote read just near the same the other it had to be genuine of some sort. That's my way have you I'm really and I think they're annoying. I haven't heard what about you get home
the hell?
Yes, of course I do. It's weird that you I want to count that specific figure pretty also the other didn't I almost wonder if you yeah.
I don't think we call it you out that area more than we did before.
Definitely.
Sure. It wasn't far.
Right off the night.
He's been R.I.P.
More. So I agree
a bit of attention was seeking the spot. The government doesn't want you to make it. Yeah. But I got on I want to check out looking at the communication they were getting phone calls was he assumed he started one of our these sessions. So they usually they will simply try to the United States cover all of the dues that we have. So that's basically $8 small you it's like right I'm gonna job.
I would
do better. So I like the education as a something that your community across older message of hey here guys or